I might be a little late to read it. Just to let you know. That's one.
It'd be an exciting meeting. It would.
We talked about that. I think that's, you
Good evening, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to the West Goshen Township Board of Supervisors meeting for Tuesday, January the 20th, 2026. To start the meeting, will you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be aware this meeting is being live streamed on YouTube, and the meeting may be audio or video recorded by people present in the room. Our first item of business is public comment. So if there's anyone in attendance who has a comment, a question, or a new issue for the board about something that is not on the agenda tonight. Okay. You'll have your time.
Mr. Chairman, I had one, before we move into that, I just want to recognize the work from our Public Works Department this past weekend with the winter storm events. They did an exceptional job and had 3 back-to-back events that they had to deal with. So I want to commend them for everything they did.
You may have a busy Sunday, Monday coming up too, it looks like.
I was talking to Mark about that today, so they're getting ready.
We'll see. All right, we'll move on to agenda item number 4, which is discussion and possible approval of a request for waiver of land development from Scott Honda, located at 706 Auto Park Boulevard. Chris?
Yes. So, Mr. Chairman, before the board this evening is a request for a waiver of land development from Scott Honda located at 706 Auto Park Boulevard. The request is part of building renovations being undertaken. We provided a letter from Scott Honda outlining the proposed project and the request. The project will result in a 24 square foot overall reduction in the building footprint. And Scott Honda is also seeking to install additional sidewalk, which would add approximately 1,500 square feet of additional impervious coverage. Stormwater management would be required for the additional pervious coverage, but could most likely be handled through the permitting process. It could go through simplified approach since it's less than 2,000 square feet. I believe representatives from Scott Honda are here this evening to discuss the project, and I'll bring the plans up for the board's review.
Okay.
So what Scott Honda is proposing is a building facade renovation, and would be 24 square feet in overall building reduction. So if the representatives from Scott Honda want to discuss their plans and what they're seeking to do, that would be most appreciated.
Would you mind coming up to the microphone?
To the mic,
please?
sure.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, thanks for considering our request. John Denblaker, I work for a design-build general contractor, Penn Valley Constructors. We're out of Morrisville, Pennsylvania. We build a lot of car dealerships. So what we're proposing is, to meet the new Honda image, we have to demolish their existing showroom, rebuild it higher. We are going to stay under your limits of the code. We will not exceed 35 feet. We'll be down approximately 30 feet. The plan in front of you, the blue is showing that our front wall is getting 20 inches closer to the parking lot. And the red are appendages that are going to be removed. The image is much different now. So we are going to have a net 24 square foot reduction in the building. We did not have a design for the sidewalk, so it was my conservative estimate that it was going to be a 1,500 square foot addition, but it's not. It is going to be 750 square foot increase in net impervious. And the reason the request is Duke Scott, the proprietor, would like to add a sidewalk along the front curb so that when you pull in, you can get out of your car, walk, and get on the curb and not walk through the parking lot. So I don't know what the stormwater permit entails. We do have drawings ready to go in for permit, but we have to go out to bid. We have to pick our contractors so that they can fill out their tech app, the electrician, plumber, et cetera. So we're still weeks away, but not many weeks away to coming into the township with a building permit application.
So just so I'm clear, you're just replacing the facade of the building. It's not a full demolition of this building or anything.
It's a full demolition.
Full demolition.
Of the showroom, and it's going to be higher so that they can meet the Honda image. It's going to be a beautiful building.
So you're not just replacing the front facade, you're replacing the entire showroom?
Yeah.
Okay. That's not clear on the...
So it is not. We didn't know if that was necessarily important because we're not. We're taking away showroom and we're adding showroom. So if you look at the plan to the right, there's a small appendage that is overhead doors. That's going to remain. That's the delivery area where you pick up your car, learn how to operate it, and then leave. To the left is your drive-in, where you drive in and you drop off your car and get it written up for service. And then the rectangle in between those two, where you see the curbs and the stairwell, that is the showroom that's going to be demolished.
But the overall footprint remains exactly the same other than the blue and the red, correct?
Absolutely correct.
You mentioned a sidewalk in front. I don't see the sidewalk there
So-
on the sketch.
so, yes,
How
sir.
wide is it going to be?
6 foot. 6 foot. I do have a plan. I did not have it at the time. I do have a plan. It's going to be a 6 foot sidewalk, and the reason being is because if somebody backs in, they encroach on the sidewalk, and we wanted to leave 3 to 4 feet, 4 feet for pedestrian traffic.
What would be the height of the curb?
The height of the curb is exactly what it is now. I'm not sure if it's approximately 7 inches. The curb will remain. And if we replace the curb, it will be in kind, and it's only because of its age, and it's going to be next to a brand new sidewalk. So Scott Honda may want that to be new curb so it matches the sidewalk and it looks all new.
Will there be bollards in front of this new showroom?
Uh,
You see that on your print from back in 2007?
Yeah,
It had
so,
bollards, in other parts surrounding the building, but I don't see any here.
yeah, whatever bollards are there to the left and to the right will remain. We are not going to add any bollards to the part of the showroom that is dark blue. There's really none required. We have a curb and
Any questions for, I'm sorry, what's your last name again?
John Denblicker.
Any questions from the board? Chris, I have a question related to our cutoff for simplified method for stormwater management. What is it in terms of square feet again?
No, it starts at 500, and then the cutoff to be able to use simplified approach is 2,000.
I don't know if that's why it's commercial or only residential.
It applies to anything.
It does?
Yeah. Yeah, stormwater doesn't matter, it's just the amount of added impervious cover.
So anything up to 2,000 square feet can use simplified approach.
Exactly what that entails.
Just be a small,
It's just an easier process, it's not as difficult in terms of an engineering, all the calculations and whatnot. It's just, it's meant to be easier to do and less expensive.
when there's smaller amounts of impervious coverage being added.
I had a question about the sidewalk, so is it going over an area, you said the 750 square foot increase, so that's going over an area that's grass today?
It's mulch plating bed.
But it's allows for the absorption of water? Okay.
Absolutely.
All right.
So it is an increase in impervious surface, right?
750 square
Yeah.
feet of increase of impervious.
I mean, my only concern about stormwater is, I mean, we spent a lot of money on fixing the culvert under Balmar Street, which is really close to Order Park Boulevard, because of issues with flooding in that area around Dewey Pile, and I don't know if it backed up as far as the boulevard or not. So every little incremental waiver that's given for stormwater management can kind of deteriorate the situation we may have just fixed or tried to fix. So my question is, can we grant a waiver for land development while still requiring a engineering design for stormwater and not going the simplified way?
Well,
I don't know if you have the right to say that they're not entitled to use a simplified approach if they meet standards. You have to look at the ordinance to see if the language gives you that power.
But would it, the
But
fact,
you do, but I guess
Can we make it a
you do as,
condition of a waiver or
yes,
not?
yes, because
Okay.
you're waiving land development, which would otherwise be required by the law, I think you could do that.
Okay.
what about the fact that they're demolishing the building and not just changing the facade?
It
Wouldn't that
needs-
change the impervious?
No, he's saying,
Requirements?
no, and that would be something that through the stormwater management process, that somebody on township side would be verifying all of that.
Okay.
That the numbers they're saying all jive out the way they're saying.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, Sean, that's a good,
Okay.
you could do that through condition of waiver.
Okay, is there any
Just
other
for
questions?
clarification then, so if we denied the request tonight for the waiver, you would have to come up with a full set of development plans and go before the planning commission, correct?
that's correct.
So that's all what we're talking about here.
Yes, sir.
Well, it's a
Yeah, I mean,
full
that is
process.
a full process. It's a
Yeah.
lengthier process, there's fees involved with it, it's a longer process. I mean, I'm okay personally, speaking for myself as a board member, I'm okay with the idea that the footprint remains exactly the same except for what's shown as a change here in blue and red, but I do want, I would make a motion, if we get to that point in a minute, to include the fact that we want an engineered stormwater plan and not the simplified approach as a condition of granting a waiver for land development. Okay, so I'm going to make that motion then. Let's move this along. I'm going to make a motion to grant a waiver for land development for this proposal, conditioned upon an engineered stormwater plan, full stormwater design, and not the simplified method. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, T. Are there any board questions or comments on the motion? Are there any public comments or questions on this action? Steve,
Yeah, I'd like to see them follow the latest sound up,
for the stormwater,
not for everything.
then we could grant the waiver. Okay. Doug?
I would like for the land development process to be put forth through to the planning commission, and I'm also concerned about the pedestrian safety in front of that new showroom about the lack of bollards.
Well, we did hear that the bollards that are there today would remain.
Okay.
You believe that going through land development, you would look to increase the amount of bollards? Is that
Well,
what you think would happen?
Just to study the situation and provide any kind of conditions or recommendations related to that, and just to see overall what's actually going to happen.
There's nothing in the subdivision ordinance that would require them to install additional measures like that. So
Yeah.
it wouldn't be a condition that the board could impose.
Understood. Stephen, is there something specific you're aware of in the SALDO that you feel would be beneficial to be addressed with the land development process?
I have to bring this up, that, again, sidewalks along the streets, that's part of the SALDO that we're trying to accomplish with the township.
I mean, this is an improvement, you're having a sidewalk from a car drop-off, pull-in point to get into there.
This
Yeah.
is just in front of the building.
Yeah.
I'm talking along Auto Park Boulevard and South Malac Street.
Okay. All right, so anyone else with any comments or questions? Okay, board, you've heard those comments. Is there any discussion, or are you ready to take a vote? Okay, let's take a vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Is there any opposition? Hearing none, the motion passes 5-0. Thank you. Next on the agenda is number 5, discussion regarding the zoning hearing board application for Nova Group Properties LLC requesting a special exception under section 8415E7 of the West Goshen Township zoning ordinance to permit the property at 750 East Marshall Street, Unit 108 as student housing.
Is there a representative from Nova Group here? Are you Janelle?
Yes.
Hi, Janelle.
Hi. Thank you.
All right, so before the board this evening is zoning hearing board application 20-2025. The applicant Nova Group Properties is seeking a special exception under section 8415E7 of the West Goshen Township zoning ordinance in order to utilize the property at 750 East Marshall Street, Unit 108 as a student home. The property is located in the R4 residential zoning district, which permits student homes by special exception. For clarification, a student home is a living arrangement for at least 2 students, up to a maximum of 4, that live in one unit together. There is 6 criteria that is also part of the ordinance, which includes parking and registration with the township. There is a representative, her name is Janelle, here before the board to answer any questions that the board may have.
Thank you, Shelby. Would you like to elaborate on what's being proposed?
Yes, yeah, thank you, Chairman and Board, for taking the time to review the application and for the community to represent West Goshen Township. So I did submit this application in November, and I had worked with a realtor, a listing agent, and she said that she had gotten so many applications, student applications. It was, her phone was ringing off the hook for student applications. As we know, the borough has a moratorium and there's restrictive rentals for students. We had listed it in October, and it was 2 months into the process, and we couldn't find a suitable tenant. And I did speak to the neighbors in West Goshen Township, and they did voice their concerns about the noise of younger students, individuals living in the community, I wanted to. Again, this is the application that was submitted was, we didn't get any applicants, and we were looking into getting student permit. We now have an applicant or a tenant that lives in the unit, so this would be for future consideration. But in terms of getting approval for future consideration for the student permit, there's nothing that I can't. I can do everything in my control to make sure that there's a restrictive lease, to make sure that there's, if there were students living there, that there would be, respectful of the noise ordinance and respectful of the community, And also, you know, I think having a well-vetted student in a restricted lease would be better than a non-student, just because of, you know, there could be, with a regular tenant, there could be just sort of a gamut of different, you know, applicants that we could accept, so, yeah.
Okay, so questions. What was your last name, Janelle?
Abakani,
Can you spell that, please?
B-A-C-A-N-I.
Thank you.
Yes. So, Mr. Chairman, I did bring up the location of the complex off of
Yeah.
Marshall Street.
Are they what are they, townhomes or condos? What are they?
They're condos. So, no. Yeah, all condos.
And so I guess I have a question, because Shelby, does your ordinance still say the special exception is only valid for 6 months?
I don't think.
Just concerned
Oh,
that there may
okay. Yeah,
be,
because I submitted this in November.
well, no, if the zoning hearing board were to approve it, I think it used to say that that was only valid for a period of 6 months, so you'd have to have the students be occupying the building within 6
Oh,
months.
within
of the
the
approval.
approval.
We need to double check that,
Oh,
because I
okay.
know that at one point was in the code, I don't know. I think
Well,
it
if
might-
it's 6 months or a year, give me 1 second.
So your point of like, you already have a tenant, you're not, you're just doing
Right.
this for the future may
Right.
not work.
Yeah, we just had a tenant move in last month, so it took, you know, a few months.
Is that Goshen Commons?
West Goshen Commons.
Oh, not Goshen Commons.
No, it's
I'm sorry, Goshen
Township.
Commons. Yeah, Goshen Commons.
Is there an HOA?
There is an HOA. It's run by Shoe Management.
And how does the HOA feel about possibility?
When I contacted them, they just said, you know, to go through the township, and, you know, I have not been in touch with them, you know, in terms of a written approval, you know, written request, so, because I wanted to go through the proper township approvals first.
But there's nothing in your HOA declarations that would prohibit it?
No,
Okay.
not that I am aware of. I didn't really.
Yeah, I guess my thought on this is, it seems, this process seems a little odd. You've got one unit in, how many units are there in total?
So it's the whole building, so Goshen Commons has separate buildings for the town, you know, for the condos. My building has, I think 6 to 7 units in the building. And then there's a separate building that has another 6 to 7 units.
Okay, so you're looking at one unit out of these
Just
6 or
one.
7, and then there's another building with another 6 or 7, and then are there more buildings beyond that?
Correct.
So it seems odd that we're looking at, or the zoning hearing board would be looking at granting student accommodation for one unit in many. I mean, where are we headed with our zoning map for this redo? Well, is this going to be an area that student housing is acceptable or not? Have we got that far with it?
I don't remember off the top of my head. We have gotten that far, but I don't remember off the top of my head.
We've had a lot of issues with student housing down where we wanted to put student housing. We had a lengthy conversation several years ago with Westchester Borough and with the university related to potential student housing on Carter Drive, which is on the south side of the township, south side of the borough, north on the township side. And there was objections from the borough on that because of the size, the actual amount of student housing that might be put in place. Student housing elsewhere in the township, we do have complaints from neighbors about noise and other factors that the police have to respond to. So it's not an easy thing to say this is a one-off thing that we should just be neutral on and move forward with. So since you have a tenant and there isn't potentially a business problem for you at the moment, I don't see the need to have this go to the zoning hearing board, in my opinion. What are other board members saying?
Let's get with Shelby's.
Oh, yeah. Well, I just wanted to answer the question, that zoning district and the new zoning rewrite would still permit student homes by special exception.
Yep.
So that
This is-
section has not
And
changed.
just for clarification, this is student home as opposed to student housing,
All right, that's
which would be a
Student
dormitory.
housing would be a dormitory.
This is not a
Yeah.
dormitory, it's
It's,
a home.
yeah, single.
I mean, what we have to decide on is whether to be neutral or not for the zoning hearing board. And we had an extensive conversation about this at the planning commission, and they voted to remain neutral. So I feel the same way.
Yeah. Let's take the motion.
But know that if you go and get the approval, you have 1 year to get a student tenant in there, or else the special exception expires.
I mean, they have, the zoning hearing board has granted extensions of approval in certain cases, so you could always ask, you could ask for an extension, and then whether or not to grant it is at their discretion.
But don't think that this board, whatever, they haven't made a motion yet, but this is not the deciding board. Of course. So you still have a burden of proof at the zoning hearing board, neighbors can come out and try to be parties, so I don't want you to.
And we did, under our ordinance, we send notification to abutting property owners, and I know Shelby did send those notifications out, and posted the property.
I see, I see.
Did you get a response to that?
We have not yet.
When, because, how much did the notice, 2-3 weeks ago, or?
We did the notice last week. We do the
And
notice once.
this would be at the zoning hearing board at the end of this month?
Correct, we do the notice once, the zoning hearing board sends the advertisement.
So the date of the hearing is scheduled for January 26th at 7 o'clock.
Monday.
Yeah, you have to come up with a narrative as to what your hardship
Well-
is for the zoning hearing board to even consider granting it.
Right, yeah, because originally the hardship was in November, December timeframe, so, you know, and also it's like, you know, I know that there were so many applicants that we received, and, you know, I was talking to my listing agent in terms of, you know, providing homes for appropriate students that are responsible. I mean, we have a lengthy vetting process before, we're not gonna let, you know, just anyone in. We talk to the parents, we talk to, you know, references, and that's why we're saying, you know, I want to emphasize a restrictive lease, you know, it's not, you know, there are going to be consequences, because I lived in a townhouse in an HOA community, and, you know, there were parties next door, and, you know, an absentee landlord, that's not how I work. So I just wanted to reassure that, you know, I want to be respectful of the community, and also, you know, addressing a need that is.
Right, well, thank you. I'll make a motion the board remain neutral.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any comments or questions from the board on the motion? Any public comments or questions? Okay, then we're ready to take a vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Is there any opposition? Hearing none, the motion passes 5-0. Thank you.
We'll see you Monday night.
Okay, agenda item number 6 is presentation from Safe Forsyth Farms regarding the property at 905 West Town Road. Welcome, Stephen.
Good evening, everyone.
If you don't mind me saying, I've asked Stephen to try to keep he has a big slide set. We have a packed agenda here tonight, as you know, so in the interest of trying to have some dialogue with people as well, if you could try to keep your presentation to 15 minutes, we would really appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Steve, just let me know when you want me to change slides.
Sounds good. Thank you. Safe Forsyth Farm, a group of residents bound together by their interest in the rich history of the area, adverse to more development, appreciation of nature, ordinary citizens who see much potential for 905 West Town Road. Our group formed in June of 2025 as a result of discovering the owner allowed the property to decay during this 23-year ownership, and the possibility of demolishing and developing townhouses on the land. I'm Stephen Lyons. I'm a proud resident of this township, born and raised. My parents were among the first who moved into Falcon Crest Development, which used to be the 198 acres of land which the Forsyth family stewarded for many years. We are in the year of semi-quincentennial. The question floating through the community and the nation, are we a more perfect union? West Goshen Township has the potential to play an enormous role in the American story and recalling our proud history here. We can move to the second slide. Thank you. The image you see up top is Shiloh African Methodist Episcopal Church. Established in 1817, it is one of the earliest AME connection churches in the country. This is a story of proximity and relationship, community and beloved community. It is fitting, a day after Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s anniversary of his birthday, that we remember and recall the enormous history of our community. There are 4 miles, 5 themes. If I can ask you to remember that. 4 miles, 5 themes. Within a 4-mile radius of Shiloh AME Church and Cemetery emerges a profound history connecting education history, which served as the model for the nation, abolition history, a newly discovered network of an underground railroad network in our community, civil rights history, women's rights history. Forsyth Farm is located just down the hill from Shiloh AME Church and Cemetery. Isaac J. Winters is one of the 14 United States colored troops buried at Shiloh. He was the church sexton for some 65 years, and he worked on Forsyth Farm in the 1840s before entering the Civil War. They had a close relationship. And when we talk about the history of Quaker families in our community, we have not done a deep analysis of how these interconnected Quaker families worked, prayed together, and assisted in the abolition cause. Next slide, please. This is an image of Forsyth Farm in the early 1980s. You'll note the Quaker simplicity at the core of this. It's different from Greystone. Greystone is a mansion of grandeur and power, projecting that to a community, which is important. But even more important is the humble Quaker roots that define the legacy and traditions of our community. Sadly, over a 23-year period, that historic asset has been allowed to rot by the owner. And our group, as I mentioned, formed to try and rectify this situation. Next slide, please. We know the story of William Penn. He is deeded lands in this area, in this vicinity, including the Welsh Tract, 1704, and then the township is divided into two townships. Robert Williams is one of the early settlers of the region, and there are important abolitionist families connected to Goshen. Next slide, thank you. Unfortunately, we have to give you this sort of Cliff's Note version of why the Forsyth family is important. This is an image of the farm in the 1940s. It was primarily a dairy farm, although wheat was grown here. Next slide. We're going to briefly touch on some of the Forsyth family members. John Forsyth, who establishes the Forsyth family in Chester County, James Forsyth, Truman Forsyth, and Isaac Forsyth. Next slide, please. John Forsyth is a Scots-Irish Presbyterian from Articelli, Northern Ireland. He makes the voyage across the Atlantic Ocean with a sea chest including 19 linen shirts his mother made him, a velvet waistcoat, and a violin. He settles in Antmill Township, and he lives with William and Sibylla Kirk, Quakers. Their daughter, Rachel Kirk Price, who later goes on to marry Philip Price, they become close friends. And Rachel Kirk Price and her powerful preaching persuades John Forsyth to convert to the Society of Friends, and he's admitted to Ushalon meeting in September of 1773. John plays an instrumental role in the education and development of our community. He becomes a beloved schoolmaster at the Octagonal School. He moves to Thomas Mateer's farm, which is located just across the street in the Brandywine, what is now the Brandywine battlefield. He witnesses the bloody events of 1777, tending to the wounded. This theme of concord and conflict is prevalent in this new and exciting history. Next slide, please. These are just some excerpts of some of the rich traditions of our community. These globes were stitched by the women at Westtown School. Imagine them thinking about the world and then their tiny world of Westtown. They had ambitions too. We should honor the great tradition of the Daughters of Light, which emerged from the Quaker community. Next slide, please. This, in my hands, is a copy of John Cumley's grammar. John Forsyth gave his manuscripts to John Cumley to form the basis of this very early textbook. It is a 200-year-old textbook. My father was a textbook salesman for Macmillan McGraw-Hill for some 30 years. I grew up just over the hill from Forsyth Farm. It's profound history, friends. Next slide, please. This again alludes to associations. Philip Price and his wife Rachel Kirk Price, they're one of the earliest superintendents of the Westtown School. Associations with Richard Strode and Strode's Mill. We want to thank them for the enormous work they're doing in historic preservation of Strode's Mill and many others. But we see here, and you can read how they assisted the black community. Next slide. This is new information, and this is exciting. Never before entered into public record. This is courtesy the Forsyth family and James Forsyth. He's aged 98. He's still as sharp as a tack, and he helped facilitate this information, an account by Mary Anna Forsyth, which states, he was a member of the WGR, but the slaves in their flight from the south could hide in his barn and were fed by him and his family till it was considered safe to pursue their journey toward Canada, where their shackles fell. This is profound because it gives us a very specific data point, which is new information in the history and interpretation of the Underground Railroad. Isaac Forsyth grew up in 905 West Town Road. He later moves down to Edgemont. But what's significant about Isaac, next slide please, is that he serves on the board of the Home for the Aged and Infirmed Colored Persons, of which William Still, the father of the Underground Railroad, is the president. You can push that forward. There we go. And that's in the document you can read. He was a mortgage man and a businessman, and he has a profound story as well. Moving on to the deed history slide. This is just an excerpt. Of course, we can't cover the total history. Truman Forsyth takes over the farm in the 1842, and we have an entire deed history we can share. Next slide is a beautiful image of the bucolic scene at 905, George Forsyth and his wife Margaret. Next slide, the abolition history. Just going to briefly go through this. We have not put the pieces together. The Garrett families of East Goshen, Chester County Chamber of Commerce, that was Joseph Garrett's house, they are all connected. The Darby Garretts, the Wilmington Garretts, Garrett family went to Westtown School. Next slide, please. Within that 4-mile radius, as I mentioned, the star is Forsyth Farm. Also within this radius, you have Bayard Rustin meeting Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. to plan the Civil Rights March. And you have several Underground Railroad stations, and you have a connection to Eusebius Barnard, who ran Barnard Station out on Route 52. Next slide, please. There's an image of Shiloh Church and some history there. Next slide. This again is profound. This is Isaac J. Winter's rifle in one of the most prestigious museums in the country, the Museum of the American Revolution, which is on virtual display. He is a son of West Goshen. Next slide. This alludes to the women's rights history. Another Garrett of the Garrett family. She speaks in the 110th anniversary on women's suffrage. She was invited there. Next slide, please. The first time in Westtown Township's 330-year existence, a historic marker will be placed in front of the site of Shiloh AME Church. Next slide, please. As we move into our questions, our hope, this is what effective preservation looks like. This is a historic property that's been mothballed with effective tarping and a secure, and the home is secure. Next slide. Here's an image connecting open space, which is the #1 survey Chester Countyans desire. They crave, they love open space, and when we connect that to our historic legacy, that makes an imprint on who we are as a people. Next slide. There is evidence of a Lenni Lenape burial ground, strong evidence. That's a whole other story. Next slide, please. Here's our vision for Forsyth Farm. Restore the building into an educational center. Next slide, please. And if we can play this video, imagine we're crossing the annex across Falcon Lane into Forsyth Farm, wetlands, beautified scenery, historic interpretation. Plank House doesn't have half the history that 905 West Town Road has. The blacksmith shop. This is our hope. This property, 905, is not conducive to development. Next slide, please. Our approach and strategy, a 5-year development project with several phases and timelines, prioritizing 501c3 status. Next slide, please. In progress, we are in process of filing a determination of eligibility for a National Historic Site. Next slide. And articles of incorporation. You can read this at your leisure. Next slide, please. Here's the next several slides illustrate a high-level project overview broken out into different phases. Next slide. The phase 1, 501c3 status and timelines. Next slide. Grant proposals and submittals. We have deep connections to Brandywine Conservancy, Natural Lands Trust, North American Land Trust, the Pennsylvania Historic Museum Commission, and the Chester County History Center. Opportunities for multiple grants. Phase 3, hire a structural engineer and historic preservation specialists as we work through our timelines. And here's our ask, slide 24, or 34, from West Goshen Township. We need time. This situation has transpired over 23 years. We formed in June of 2025. We're making great progress. We need time. If we can even just secure the roof with effective tarping as we meet benchmarks to show our progress along the way. Next slide, we will refine the project plan in continued partnership and consultation with community members and stakeholders of the community. And that's our presentation. Thank you for your time, everyone.
Thank you, Stephen. That was fascinating. And thank you for keeping to the time. I put you under too. So does the board have any questions about the presentation we've just heard from Stephen?
No, it was fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that history with us. I've learned so much just from that slideshow, and you're very good at presenting the material, so thank you.
Thank you.
Again, I thought it was very good. I just have one question. What do you want the board to do?
Time.
Okay, because right now, you know, it's a conservatorship, and we don't have control over time or demolition or anything. The judge decides that. So I'm asking you, what do you want from the board?
Asking you to give us a voice, a conversation with Mr. Ewald. My question too is, the Blight Act does not address historic preservation, and when you're dealing with a property that is eligible for National Registry, that is an issue for the community. So how do we have a voice at the table?
Yeah, I'm saying, what do you want the board to do? You know,
I want you
we'd
to
like
tell-
to help you, but I'm trying to figure out how we can help you.
Tell Carl Ewald, as you have appointed him, that the taxpayers are asking Township to give us 2 years as we introduce our timeline and project management phase project.
Okay, so you're asking the board to talk to them, to try to convince them.
We don't
Into
have
that.
that power.
Yeah, that's
So I don't
my
want
point.
to even put that out there like it's a possibility.
Yeah,
I think, you know, you've been a part of this process, you've been showing up, and we really appreciate the engagement from the community, truly, like we've talked about, this has been a problem property. As a board, we decided that the only way really to address this was to enter into this conservatorship. The judge, as I understand it, did not grant you party status, is that right?
right.
So that was the judge's decision. I mean, once we decided that in order to deal with this property and make it safe, that it was going to be completely turned over and it's in the judge's hands.
Right, so we don't have control as a board really over anything. I appreciate the presentation and the history, very much so, and I respect it. And I appreciate the input we have from the community and the support. I think it's really important. But you're probably going to have more of a voice than we will as a community and trying to, you know, talk with what you want, because we really don't have any control, unfortunately, and that's really unfortunate. It's my understanding.
Well, they don't have party status. Everything is in the hands of Judge Fairway.
That's true,
And
that's
going
correct.
through the process
But
as
that's
outlined.
I'm sorry, Chris. That's the weakness in the conservatorship. There's not a mechanism for the community to participate in the discussion about the historic resources of their community. It's basically hiring someone else to make decisions on behalf of the community, which they have no input. And we tried to submit, because we were looking for a lawyer. It's extremely expensive. And I tried to file, and it was a technicality because I don't own the house I live in, taking care of my mother. But had we had another representative to file a petition, then that would have been approved.
I was there, Stephen. I wouldn't necessarily call it a technicality. You filed it over 30 days late beyond the judge's order.
But also, did you see how late Mr. Kravitz filed his rebuttal? It was 7 days later.
I'm not defending any of the actions.
Yeah.
Yeah,
of
we're
Mr.
just saying,
Kravitz.
it's
I'm
out of
just
our
stating
hands.
facts.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the facts are that as governors of the blight process, the conservatorship process, the people are being shut out of a right to historic preservation. How do we get in the room? How do we get in the room?
So this board did not have any hand in, not granting this group party status. Like, we are not attached in that way. So it's not us that's, excluding you in any way. I think the future, and correct me if I'm wrong, really, because I might be. I feel like the future of this is it goes through this process, the conservator makes their decision, the judge decides sort of the future of the property, and then it goes up for sale at fair market value? I don't want to get this wrong,
So essentially, the way it'll work is the conservator will put together a plan that is sent to Judge Verwey. Judge Verwey will make the ultimate decision on kind of what the plan is that goes forward, and then the conservator will execute on whatever plan is decided by the judge. At the time that the plan is completed, the property owner will have the option to either pay the fees that cost with any sort of remediation plus the 20% fee for the conservator. And if they can't pay that, then the option is to sell the property, and then the conservator and Mr. Ewald would be paid for their time through the sale. And all debts that are associated with the property would be paid off, including money that's owed to the township for back trash fees.
Right, and at that point, anybody can have the option to purchase the property. So I'm saying it's really out of our hands. There's absolutely nothing further we can do. It's in the judge's hands and the
How does
conservative.
Mr. Ewald make his money off of this?
Mr. Ewald gets paid.
The sale, based off of the sale.
Well,
It
no.
doesn't have to be a sale.
It doesn't have to be the sale. He is paid. He is paid for by either the property owner, and then if the property owner can't pay for it,
Then
then
it's a
it
sale.
gets sold.
Right, exactly.
Because they get paid some way, somehow. And Mr. Ewald is not being paid by the taxpayers of West Goshen Township. We are not incurring a bill from him that we are paying on a monthly basis.
Yeah, now part of this plan that Mr. Ewald will present to Judge Verwey will be several options, and the judge will have to make a decision. The options would be total demolition or partial demolition, or just leave it the way it is. So he'll present all those to the judge, and the judge will have to make a decision based upon the facts and the recommendation.
Yeah, I just want to take us back to September when the board took the action to seek a conservator for this. So as you all know, for several years we had tried through our property maintenance code violations to get the property owner to address the deteriorating nature of this house and the property in general. That had been largely ineffective because he did not take action, he did not pay fines, and we needed another way forward in terms of addressing what is a public safety issue. We have people, it's an attractive nuisance. For those of you that went to the hearing with the judge, you understood that everything that Shelby had to go through to present why this is a blighted property and the risks it poses to public safety. It's an attractive nuisance to teenagers, to homeless people, and it is in imminent danger of collapse. And I'll explain in a minute some of the latest information we've got from the conservator about why they're unable to tarp the property right now. So faced with that, for us to address it, given that the property owner was failing to do anything, the most appropriate action for the board to take, which we held with a public discussion with you, was to appoint a conservator to come in and take control of that process and try to stabilize and secure the property, and then to go before the judge with a longer-term solution to address the blight. And that's the process that's underway at this point. As Mr. Hellman just said, the conservator is going to assess the state of it and say what options might be viable. And of course, the property owner has a say in positioning this with the judge. So he can say, I want to do this option from whatever the conservator puts forward. It's still his property. He has rights. He could have demolished this house at any time in the last 20 years if he decided he wanted to proceed with development. It's zoned R3, residential single-family homes. We have no ordinances in this township that prevent demolition of historic properties. We have no open space mandated fees to collect money to purchase properties. That's where we are as a board. That's why we decided to go with the conservatorship approach. So we are expecting to get information from the conservator with respect to the engineering assessments they've done. We've heard verbally that the engineer would not go in the house because it's unstable. They're unable to determine whether the foundations for the walls are secure enough to actually be able to support the structure going forward. The interior needs demolition. It is unsafe. It is rotted through. That is the kind of conclusions the conservator's coming to, and that will be part of the options they put forward.
But it shuts the people out of a voice, and I've also shared the video.
I understand,
and
Steve. I'm
analysis
just
to
explaining
other
to you where we
structural
are.
engineers, and they have countered that point.
Also, just to explain, the reason why you brought the issue of time, we had to pursue this conservatorship option within a very narrow time framework. If the property was up for foreclosure, you can't go in conservatorship. And you know how many times you go in and out of foreclosure. If it was put up for sale, you could not go into conservatorship. So if we put it out even a week ahead of time, if we were going to pursue this option, it could have very easily have been subterfuged by Mr. Krebs. So that's the reason why we could not give the community advance notice that this move was going to be taken. Which is unfortunate, but that's the
It's
reality.
unfortunate.
Another issue right now is they would not drive trucks over the bridge because the bridge is unstable for vehicle traffic, so they couldn't even get the type of fencing up we wanted around the properties to secure it. So let alone try to go up and put a tarp on it, as you illustrated, was successfully done on a different type of property. It is not stable enough to do that at the present time.
Yeah, and we did ask the conservatorship to do that. Did a tarp on there, but said we can't get the equipment in there to do it.
Yeah, the equipment.
They can't put
So
it
when
in.
a shadow developer comes in and wants to throw up 10 townhomes or whatever ridiculous plan he has.
Hold on a second. It's not zoned for townhomes. The zoning in the R3 zoning district does not permit townhomes either by right, conditional use, or special exception. Is that correct, Shelby?
That's correct.
It only permits, the only type of residential development that is permitted in that zoning district are single-family detached homes. There is no provision for townhomes. I don't know why that statement was made during the hearing. There's nothing in the zoning ordinance that permits that.
And the conservative process is not talking about the future development of the property. The conservative process is talking about how you abate the property maintenance violations and the blight conditions of the property. That is what the judge is dealing with.
There's a public safety issue, I acknowledge that, but there are multiple historic assets that have been effectively tarped and secured and preventing.
Not
ones that are in
beyond,
a conservative
beyond this repair. I can tell you, I have been doing municipal work for 17 years. I've seen many properties in poor conditions. This one is near the top of the list in terms of the condition. It's in pretty bad shape.
Those stone walls, I spoke to Jeff Devlin, Old Stone Home Revival, and he says those are in excellent condition.
Okay.
We need more input.
Well, I think based on, then the report is available on our website. We've made the reports available for both the bridge and the house. They're both available, publicly accessible. I think from reading that the stone walls might be the only reason why the house is still standing at this point.
And
The pictures inside could only be taken from the entryway to the house because the structural engineer would not enter in beyond the entryway of the house. And you can see all the mold and rotted wood that's in there from that one picture.
We acknowledge that more than likely the interior would have to be completely gutted. But there are other structural engineers that I've spoken to that have said there have been homes in worse condition than that have been brought back to life.
That could be true, could not be true, it doesn't matter, it's up to the judge at this point.
So how do we intervene or petition to get a second opinion about a structural engineer or historic preservations?
Don't have any rights.
We don't have
need
any
it.
rights.
We
Our
don't.
community has no rights to our historic preservation.
We don't have any rights as a board. Personally, we don't have any rights. It's in the court's hands right now. We have no control over how it's going to go or how the judge is going to make his decision or what's going to happen to the property.
One quick point. The tarping. You say you can't bring in equipment over the bridge.
It's not just the fact that you can't bring the equipment in, it's a concern over the structural integrity of the roof.
I've spoken to other
Have they actually
preservationists.
been on the property, Steve?
When?
Have they gone and looked at the house and they assessed
Guys,
it?
we don't need to argue
we
the
don't.
point.
Yeah.
You have an opinion and you've expressed it. We have a conservative who has a professional engineer look at it and said it's not safe to go in the building, it's not safe to go up on the roof to tarp it right now. So we have to live with that as the reality of where we are. That information will be used for the conservative to come up with the options and present them to the judge in March.
And the judge will make the final decision.
But you could.
I mean, all these things are could and woulds, right? The stone walls look great. You could go in the basement and find out they're structurally unsound and have to come down. I mean, these are things that we don't know the answer to because we can't get in the building right now. So those things will be part of what the conservator has to point out to the judge, and he'll have to take that into account in making a decision. And again, I want to impress upon everyone, Mr. Kravitz is the property owner. He has a right to say what option is the judge should consider, so he will have a voice in that process.
And the people don't.
It's his property. He bought it for a price that had a development cost.
Set forth in the right to American
It's a
citizens.
private property. He owns the property. We can't lose sight of that.
And his ownership has been a disaster.
And we agree.
A disaster.
Totally agree. Totally agree.
And that is why Shelby was successful in getting 42 citations and 42 convictions on it.
I know.
Why didn't you go to jail? Why wasn't anything done by our local government?
Does he have to pay the conservator fees before he has any type of a say as to what is done with the property?
Well, the conservator has to be reimbursed. If the judge was to say this is the way forward, the conservator has to be reimbursed before anything else that would happen in terms of the property. Before any sale or next step, whatever else, they would need to be clear. So I do want to entertain a few questions, so if you just raise your hand, we'll try to get you. Sir, you have your hand up.
Okay, so, first of all, half of Bobolink Lane is here. So, you're right directly next to the property. Take a look if you want.
Your name, sir, for the record?
William Aronson, Dr. Bill Aronson. Let me see, okay, make sure the person on if you open it up to the second page, you can see the view of the house from my front porch. Okay, so I just wanted to make it clear that I am really close and have been for 40 years. So, my son will kill me if I say this, but my family have been in the house. So they have taken pictures inside the house. They're not part of the crowd that Shelby presented in terms of the concern of the neighbors. It's really been, if you look at it, and I'm really looking especially for a way forward, not just because of the proximity, but I've discovered my Quaker roots. And I see this as a symbol of what the Quakers did for this community, developing this community and building this community. And it is a visible symbol of our Quaker presence. Now, my Quaker roots are in Burlington County, New Jersey, back to the 1600s. But I see in that house my roots. And my feeling is if it's gone, there's going to be a whole hole, not just out of my own personal view of it, but anyone who wants to appreciate visually the past. I think that it would be a crime for it to be demolished. Second thing is, in terms of the townhouse issue, just to be clear, because I did see Kravitz's plans, he's looking for 10 single houses, 4,500 square foot each, which kind of blew me away. But 3-story single houses.
So just be,
okay, so let me
try to keep us focused on where we are today. Everything you're saying is a speculation about land development, which is not where we are in terms of the process at this point.
I know, but I also provided the information. You were talking about the impervious surfaces. Great concern about the marsh itself and backing up into Forsyth Creek. So there are pictures there of Forsyth Creek, Forsyth Run in flood stage. And in the 40 years that I've been there, that's happened about 10 times. Fortunately, it's only come within 10 feet of the house, not any closer. But I have great fear that any kind of development on that property will, without consideration, would create.
So any development of the property would have to fully take into account the floodplain for that creek, and we are prohibited building within, what is it, 100 feet?
100 feet.
100 feet of a floodplain, so
And
it
that-
may well severely restrict any development on that. I don't want to speculate and give false information tonight, but I think what you're saying has to be taken into account by any development.
Well, the floodplain has changed twice since I've lived there. So if you go by a floodplain that's irrelevant once the marsh is impinged on and it backs up, the floodplain has to change. So there has to be not just an examination of the property itself, but all the way up Forsyth.
Well, FEMA determines the floodplain
Yeah, I know.
maps, and we just enforce the regulations, and the regulations that are enforced are generally standardized, but we don't make any determinations as to what the floodplain is. That's all done by FEMA.
I understand that, because I've been through two floodplain changes.
The other thing, as Mr. Walsh stated, I mean, like, there's no development plan that's before the township, and any development plan would have to follow all the existing stormwater management
I was
regulations
just going
as
to say
well.
that. Right, so that would actually help the flooding in that area if there was any development.
It would help flooding, you said?
Yes,
Yeah.
because any new development would have to follow the stormwater engineering practices of the
Okay.
township. So that would help the flooding and the impervious surfaces. And also the floodplain would have to be under FEMA. So all of that, if it was developed, would be handled, and it would prevent further flooding from happening.
I'll take your word for it.
Just to put a finer point on it, we have up-to-date ordinances related to stormwater management with development. Our problem in the township generally is the older neighborhoods do not have the standard of stormwater management and control that is needed for the kind of events that we see today. So it's the older neighborhoods, it's the bobolink lanes that don't have the right size basins, stormwater management, infiltration. New development has to meet a standard now that is much higher than it was when you moved into your house.
I moved in
I just want to make that
86,
point.
the house was built in 72, so, 71, 72, and 73 was when that neighborhood was built.
Okay.
Okay?
All right, thank you.
Well, I thank you for allowing me to do this.
No, that's fine. Anyone else with a new, let's have a new point that you want to raise. If someone's got a new point. Yes, ma'am.
What about the,
Would you mind just stating your name for the record?
sure, my name is Lisa Angelillo, and I'm the resident of West Goshen Township, and I'm the chair of the Sierra Club in the Philadelphia and five-county area. And I'd like to know about the wetlands. What are the building regulations? Because there are wetlands on that property. Very concerned, not only with the open space, but really, you know, building, how far you have to build from the wetlands. And I don't know exactly where they are. It's only 8.5 acres. But I'd like to know what are the regulations for this township.
I think the wetlands are about 4 acres. They're almost 4 acres.
It's a federal
3.5.
They would follow the
3.5.
floodplain regulations and the building code.
Right.
So the floodplain regulations spelled out in the zoning code, the zoning code, and then the building code, they would have to follow their
But it's not just
international
local
residential building
regulations,
code.
there's state and federal regulations for wetlands, and township doesn't have any say over that. But township zoning ordinance is, we were mandated by FEMA to adopt floodplain regulations that follow the FEMA model ordinance. So we don't, township didn't have any choice in that matter. If they didn't adopt the model ordinance that FEMA published, the residents would lose the ability to have flood insurance. So it was something that every municipality had to do. So they're very stringent regulations.
Good, thanks.
Yes, sir.
Hi, I'm Edstrom. Tommy, do you want to come on up, please?
Yeah, just easy to hear you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. My name's Tom Edgecombe. I'm a resident of West Goshen. Just wanted to know, when the conservator goes before the judge, like, what date is that? Is that
March 16th, I believe.
okay? Is there a representative from West Goshen that will also be at this hearing or discussion?
As I understand it, I will be there, similar to the way I was in court for this property on Thursday, but we don't speak. I'm just there to show that the township is here. But as I understand it, it's the conservator and
The judge?
the judge and the attorney and the defendant.
Okay.
Shelby spoke at the first hearing because we were petitioning at that point to put the property in conservatorship. So her testimony was critical to proving the state of the property met what was required under the State Blight Act.
Okay.
That's why she gave testimony like that.
So it will just be the conservator that will speak, and will Mr. Kravitz speak?
Mr. Kravitz is.
And then the judge at that time will well, I don't know if we'll make a decision on the spot, but,
Yeah, he probably won't.
okay, but soon after.
What's he have, 60 days or something like that?
I believe you're correct. I believe it's
What's
60
after the
days.
hearing?
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, the lady at the back, I think, or,
I
yes?
just have a question. I'm Jill Matlin. I'm from West Goshen Township. The board filed the original petition for conservative. Is there a petition that can be filed to like temporary stay of the conservancy so that they don't make a decision, like so that nothing's carried out? Is there a petition that you guys can file?
I'm not the attorney of record on that matter. I don't think there is, because part of the petition is to show that it's an attractive nuisance, it's dangerous to the public. So it's sort of counterintuitive to say, oh, wait, hold on. And in fact, the judge was supposed to have the hearing, the statute says within 30 days. But the court schedule didn't permit that. So they want to alleviate the blight, mitigate the blight, and prevent future harm. So I don't think that's necessarily an option.
Laws that stay, temporary stay.
Not with the condition of the property being the way it is now. The only way it could ever do would be if there was some interim measure to stabilize the property in some manner to allow further reflection, but I don't, again, that's in the conservator's hand to determine that.
I thought it was stable now. I thought that that's what the conservators were.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But I just thought that there was something that.
I mean, I hear your question is a good one. I don't want to speak for the rest of the board, but our position remains that this is an attractive nuisance. There's a public safety risk for people, and we expect the conservative process to deal with that through the judge, and we'll see what decision he makes. But yes, sir.
Hi, I'm Paul.
Would you mind coming up to the mic, sir?
My name is Paul D'Annunzio, one of the Bobolink residents. I'm mostly here, I'll just be honest, because of Bobolink's cul-de-sac. Obviously not part of the property. So what say will you have in new roads that may or may not go?
So that would be all part of a future land development process, and the township has rights in that municipal planning process. So it would we would certainly have a voice as to how all that development would take place.
Yeah, I know there's obviously both sides of the property. I really just want to make sure that you're not going to go through my cul-de-sac with a new road. So that's what
I can't say that, sir. All I can say is there's a process that will be followed.
Okay, so when do we show up for that process? When does that process?
There has been no land development applications or plans that have been submitted to the township or under review.
How do you plan to, or I mean, how, obviously no plan, but what would it look like to take property, because it's two properties that can come together right there, or is that not anyone's property? Like on Bobolink at the end of the road.
Yeah.
Two different people's properties obviously come together. So what would that look like? Would it be some sort of situation that they?
So I'm not familiar enough with the so-called paper road that's.
It's not a paper road.
It's not a paper road.
The township owns right away. The township owns the right of way up to this property, up to Travis's property. We've already
Off Bobolink.
investigated that, yes.
Off of Bobolink in the cul-de-sac.
Yes, it owns a 50-foot wide right of way that butts up to Mr. Travis's property. The township owns that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's dedicated to the township.
Even though another property owner was maintaining it for 30 years?
Doesn't matter. It's owned by the township.
So you have a say in whether or not
Yeah,
it becomes a
we have
road.
a say.
Okay. See you later.
But there's also.
Absolutely, we look forward to seeing it. We want public input in development processes, and again, this is hypothetical. We don't know what's going to happen here, what the property owner is going to, ultimately decide to do with the property. Yes, sir, at the back.
Hi, I'm Michael Pease. I'm one of the people that have that 50-foot piece. When will the township make a decision on that parcel of land?
Not until development plan gets filed.
Yeah.
There's nothing to make a decision on. So somebody, whoever is the owner, and it might not be Mr. Kravitz, he may use the property in the conservative process. Whoever ultimately owns that land, if a development plan is filed, that development plan will have to follow the codes that we were talking about, the subdivision land development, the zoning codes, stormwater management codes, whatever that developer presents as far as potential access to the site. That's something that the planning commission and then the board ultimately reviews, and the public has the right to come and comment on.
But the township will not make a decision before a plan comes in place?
They can't. There's nothing to make a decision on.
I'm going to Correct. Because at the end of, on Partridge Lane, West Town Road, there was a piece of property that was sold to somebody who bought that house. So the township owned that property, and they sold it to them, so.
I don't think it's a road, I don't think we're talking about.
No, it's land.
Yes, that's different, that's different. I'm not talking to sell a public road.
Okay. Well, this is technically not a public road.
It is a public road.
Technically a right of way.
It's a right of way owned by the township for purposes of being a public road, if and when that opportunity became necessary.
And when will that, so you're waiting for a development plan to come forward? Or not to
The
happen?
board is waiting for the development plan or
I
something to be presented that potentially would use it or may not use it.
So the board will not make a decision for a plan. So even though, you know, part of my driveway resides on that property, I'm essentially landlocked. So I was, my lawyer, we've spoken to my lawyer about that. So I have a concern about that. I understand we go through the whole legal process and the township owns it. But my concern is about my driveway. And I'm essentially, but you know, if that happens, I'm landlocked.
You're not going to be landlocked. You'll have access up on public road, which you do now. And you will continue to. The township cannot have it so that you don't have access to your property.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Would you mind just stating your name, please?
Kendra Mack, I just want to ask you if onto that, the road you were talking about. 46 years I've been here, we've been here, and nothing has ever been done with that property for the access road. I'm just curious, if somebody would be allowed to put that road, would it be you guys or would it be the developer? It's your land?
The township owns it.
Okay.
For purposes of a road.
Okay, now off Falcon Road, there's an access road that does not allow anybody to go in, but it's a full-fledged two-lane road that comes off to, where would that come off of? What, no, off Falcon Road. No, you go up Falcon.
It's across from Barker Park. She's referring to the area that
Oh,
is.
Goshen Valley.
Yeah.
There's a place that goes, the police here. But there is a lane that I guess is considered a fire lane because it's got gates across it, so it's not used, but it's a double lane, two-lane road. So out of curiosity, what would you put in Bobolink? Because if you put a two-lane road in there, you would be going up to Mike's house and Matt's house. That would be, and Bill's house.
Okay, so I understand your concerns and the issues. We really can't address them tonight. As Ms. Camp said, this is all speculative about future development, the different access points that may be to this property, what kind of developments on it, how big it is just West Town Road is adequate. We don't know anything about that. If you were able to get Brandywine Conservancy Natural Lands to buy this property for $2 million, it wouldn't be in development, right? So all these things are just completely hypothetical until whatever happens moves further along. So we absolutely know and understand your concerns, and we are aware of them today. So, other questions? Hugh, welcome.
My name is Hugh Cornell, and I am a former board member. I wish you guys a lot of luck.
Appreciate it.
8 to 10 years ago, when I was on the board, there was an ordinance proposed, historical preservation properties. I don't know whether that would be resurrected help in this case or not. That would be up to the solicitor to.
So, if I can fill you in on that, Hugh. So we are in parallel with the learning that everyone has had relative to the deterioration that was allowed to happen at 905 West Town Road. We have pushed forward and advanced an historic ordinance that you worked on, that we're now at the point of having a public meeting at the end of February to discuss it with all the people who own these historic properties about what the ordinance is intended to do. And its main purpose is to try to prevent demolition by neglect, which is the situation we find ourselves in with this particular property. Now, all it will do is give us another tool in addition to the property maintenance code to try to take action against property owners that are not maintaining historic properties. But it doesn't prevent a property owner deciding that they want to demolish a property and go forward with it. We do not have a historic overlay, what's it called?
A historic
Architectural district that prevents people from deciding they want to develop per the zoning that is allowed for where their home is situated.
We had at the time the bishop's property, and that was a shame. That was a early 1800 house that was demolished, and it was perfectly good. It was livable at the time. So,
I mean, we have to balance the rights of property owners to do what they want with the property within the zoning that's allowed in this township, with the intention to encourage historic preservation of older homes through making sure we use property maintenance code and hopefully this new ordinance to prevent demolition by neglect.
The research that we did at the time indicated that some of the concerns that you just expressed really weren't as much of a concern as it seems. You had people that were neglectful, and they were a separate thing. You deal with that as a neglect in the township, but the preservation of the property itself can be helped by working with, for example, the Historical Society on a fundraising basis to help those things.
But we obviously really hope that people who own historic properties have that mindset and wish to continue to preserve them. Unfortunately, our most recent experience, as everyone in this room knows, is not that.
Yeah, that we lost a fight on two. One was the one at Montgomery in Virginia, where they tore it down. That was part of the Underground Railroad history, and that's now a propane station, and the other one was Bishop's Lodge. So,
well, please come to the meeting on February the 28th.
I'll be glad.
26th, I'm sorry, correct that. And we'll hopefully have a good discussion with all those property owners. Other folks with questions tonight? Yes, sir, the back.
Yes, hello. John Poth here. I live at 549 Willow Way. My question is, if somebody were to approach the owner now, is it possible for an agreement of sale to come up even during the conservancy process?
I don't believe so.
Not without the court approval.
So once the conservancy, so we have to wait until the conservancy process is over before any negotiations?
I think you could approach the property owner, and if it was a viable agreement, he could present that to the court, but that ultimately the conservator has to be involved in that process, and the conservator he has a say in it as well.
And any fees obviously would have to be paid in conjunction with all this. So what you're saying is we need a Daddy Warbucks kind of person to find us.
And Mr.
We can find somebody, maybe.
Mr. Kravitz has multiple mortgages and liens, so he will be looking for a sale value that is the development benefit cost of the property, not he has to cover his debts. Yes, ma'am.
What if the property...
Would you mind stating your name, please?
It's Karen Shelley Geffner, I'm 887 Bobolink Lane. What if the property doesn't sell at that amount of money that he wants?
He will take a haircut.
And who forces that?
So, again, I'm not the most versed person in how the conservatorship process ultimately ends up. They are going to expend money doing whatever the judge says is the option they need to do. They will then say, we need to be reimbursed. Now, Mr. Kravitz can either find some money under his bed and pay them off, or they can force it into a sale process.
Okay.
They won't have expended as much money as that property is worth, even if it isn't developed. So they will be paid first, we will be reimbursed, and Mr. Kravitz will be left with whatever proceeds
Gotcha.
are left. Well, yeah, they get paid their cost plus 20%.
Gotcha.
Okay. Any other questions? Stephen?
Two quick questions. Once the judge, if he votes in favor of demolition upon a recommendation, what's the timeline there?
Judge says that.
Judge sets that?
Judge sets that.
Okay. And the second question, intervening, I forgot what the second question.
It's been a long night. Any other questions? Well, thank you, everybody. We appreciate the discussion. The board is very aware of your concerns and interest in this property. March the 16th is the date when the, well, I guess we'll see before that, we'll have a preview of what the conservative is going to propose, because it has to be presented to all parties 30 days before the hearing. And then, so we're going to post that on the township website, and there's an alert you can sign up for to see anything new that's posted. So you will see it well in advance of March 16th. Thank you.
Like a bad
How are you? Full. Yes, full. I'm always here. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Sorry, we're helping out a shot.
Just because the church is 4 miles away from it doesn't, because that gives it historic value. But this doesn't give it some street history. Social studies, so I teach, also I teach psychology and government. Yeah. Taught history for years too.
Okay, we're going to reconvene our meeting after that little break. So we are up to agenda item number 7. Those folks who are planning on leaving, if you would mind stepping out, we'd appreciate it. So agenda item number 7 is public hearing and possible adoption of ordinance number 1, 2026, amending chapter 66, sewers and sewage disposal, the West Goshen Township Code of Ordinance. Kristen, if you could just introduce this.
So this has been presented to the board on 2 different occasions. We have made changes to this ordinance since the last time you saw it. It is a mechanism that the township would use as Chris explained in his memo, as a means of last resort in the event that somebody is delinquent for more than 3/4 in their sewer bill, and that all other measures to collect that delinquent sewer bill have not, panned out. I handle and oversee the lien process for the township for its trash and sewer. This is specific to sewer. And I will tell you that we go above and beyond to try to work with property owners to try to collect these. So I think this would absolutely positively be, as I mentioned, last resort. It is authorized by the state law. It doesn't matter that the West Goshen their sewer bill is not based on meter readings. They're not linked together. There is a statute that authorizes the board to ask the water company to shut off the water in the event the sewer is delinquent. You have revised your specific section in your sewer ordinance, which is chapter 66. The state law allows you to do it if there's 30 days of non-payment. If it's delinquent for 30 days, you put into your code it has to be 3/4 delinquent. So, and it's at the request and direction of the board that the manager would then notify the water company. The property owner is given, or the sewer, whoever's paying the sewer bill is given the opportunity to pay it off. To avoid this, they must get notice based on the statute. It has to be posted on basically their front door and be mailed to them. So they do have an opportunity to, number one, dispute the debt, or number two, stop the water shutoff. So your ordinance, we did advertise it in the Daily Local on January 12th. We sent a copy of the ordinance for public inspection to the Law Library and Daily Local on January 6th. So again, this was before you before and authorized to go forward to this step, and now it's before you for consideration to adopt.
Thank you, Kristen. I had one correction. I believe you've incorporated it, which is that the utility is Aqua Pennsylvania, Inc.
That's correct. On page 2, under paragraph 7, we changed it to reflect the correct name.
So the board's had a good discussion on this on a couple of occasions. Is there any further thoughts or comments tonight?
I just want to reiterate my position, and I still feel comfortable pursuing this. I understand it's the last resort only kind of option, but still, I just have a problem in my mind correlating. Somebody's paid up on a water bill, and still they get their water shut off. It just doesn't sit well with me. And I know situations where people unemployed, divorces, mental health issues, whatever, where this could become an issue where I just don't feel that it's the right thing to do.
Understood. Thank you, John. Any other comments from anyone from the board?
Yeah, I'll just say we're giving people 9 months to make a phone call to the township to make arrangements, and if they can't do that, then I don't see a reason why we shouldn't penalize them.
I did look at the list of delinquent accounts that was provided some months ago now. There's over about 200 properties in total. I looked at some of the ones that were highlighted as folks who weren't on either a payment plan or in bankruptcy or some other reasons why this could not be applied to them. And there are several properties that were sold and no one's ever paid the sewer bill on. And there was also various instances where the mortgage on the property is minimal compared to the value of the property. And we know there's some people who decide that this, for other priorities, they're not going to pay the sewer bill. It's the easiest one to neglect because they don't associate it with utilities, unfortunately, like they do with their electricity and water accounts. So I think there's a value to this, and I completely trust that between our township management, board oversight, and our legal support, that we will make appropriate decisions on an individual basis. So I will make a motion to approve ordinance number 1, 2026. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Nick. Any public comment or questions?
I just want to make one other comment. It's not like the township's going to be losing this money because the township will realize this when the property is sold, whenever that may be, because there are liens placed upon the property. So the township will get this money. It's just a matter of when.
In addition to that, it actually is worse for the property owner and the person because they pay penalties, they pay fees associated with dealing with that. And it's better to someone to address an issue that they have if they are falling behind sooner rather than later in terms of the ultimate cost to them as an individual. Doug, you had a point?
Up until now, what were the mechanisms to address these problems over the years?
Just the liens.
So we go through the liens, and once it reaches a certain amount, then Kristen files a writ of execution, and we execute on the judgment, and the property goes to sheriff's sale.
And in almost all cases, if the property has a mortgage, the mortgage company, once we schedule the sheriff's sale to collect the lien, the mortgage company will pay it off and add the delinquency to the mortgage. But at that point, as Sean just mentioned, not only are they paying the delinquent sewer, they're paying the interest, the penalties, all of the legal costs to file the lien, to file the writ. To file the writ of execution is $3,000 to pay to the sheriff. So what could have been addressed, with just the sewer amount in delinquency, now by the time you take it to that, because people just have ignored it, because we've never done that on a property where somebody has contacted the township to notify them of a hardship in a situation where they can't pay the bill.
So has that worked?
It has worked.
I can tell you there have been instances where we've gone up to the point of sheriff's sale and people have miraculously come up with thousands of dollars and paid off the debt. That has occurred. And I can tell you from experience, when you go through this process, people miraculously come up with the money when they figure out their water is going to be shut off.
And how much does it cost the township for Kristen to do her thing?
Well, the property owner pays that. Yeah, it's a statutory amount that is added onto the lien, and that's paid, that's included in what they have to pay to satisfy it. Yeah, the township doesn't incur that expense. Well, up front you do, but then again, when it's paid off, you get it reimbursed. Yeah.
Any other questions, Ed?
Has any consideration been given to looking at using a debt collector, turning it over?
That would cost additional money. I've used the debt collector. They take a fee of that. I've used that before.
They don't buy the debt from you, and then, because they collect all the fees and penalties and everything.
I've used a collection company. I mean, we have a utility billing process here in the township. We have employees who do this and work with Kristen's office.
I think because these are lienable services, the state law that gives the liens have priority. It's taxes and then these liens. So there's a high priority in the state statutes that gives the township the rights to try to collect this, which are, I think, more powerful and more effective than going through a collection agency.
Any other questions?
No, I would like to reiterate my case that I don't believe in shutting people's water off, so I would be supporting.
Okay. All right, all ready to take a vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed?
No.
Okay, the motion passes 3-2. Next on the agenda is 8, discussion and possible approval of the water services termination agreement between West Goshen Township and Arthur, PA.
So this is the corollary to that ordinance that now if the board would direct the manager to go through this process, these are the terms upon which the water company would go about doing it. And it dictates, the notices, what the responsibilities of are each party, what the rights are of a property owner to try to stop it. And I've reviewed the form. As Chris mentioned, I don't think they're willing to accept any changes, but I didn't think there really needed to be any.
This is the standard agreement.
Yeah. The only thing that I would ask them is that because the township, the municipal authority is actually the owner of the system and you lease it from them. So that was the one paragraph I realized when I looked at it today, we could ask them to change that just to make it more reflective of the facts.
Yeah, we can do that.
The first whereas.
I'll just point out, though, that on this proposed termination agreement on 1C, it states the statement that the sewer charges for such premises remain unpaid for a period of 30 days.
Well, that's
At least 30 days.
at least. Yeah, I circled that, but again, we would not exercise this option based on your code until it's 3 months. They're following the state statute by writing that. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I will make a motion to approve the water service termination agreement with Arthur. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Nick. Any public comment or questions? Okay, then we'll take a vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposition?
No.
Motion passes 3-2. Ashley and John opposed. Agenda item number 9, public hearing and possible adoption of ordinance number 2, 2026, amending chapter 78, vehicles and traffic of the West Goshen Township Code of Ordinances.
So this is something that Brian, at the end of each year, gets in touch with me. I think he works with the police department to find out where traffic regulations, either new roads that came into existence or changes in speed limits or recognizing where stop intersections need to be implemented. So because Chapter 78 is a ordinance that's within your code book, we have to follow the public hearing process. We had to advertise tonight as a hearing. We did that on January 12th. And we also sent a copy of the ordinance to the law library and daily local. So again, this is just an annual amendment that we do based on changes to various roads and signage on those roads.
And these are just township roads exclusively?
That's all,
correct?
yeah. You only have the right under the motor vehicle code to impose these on your township and roads.
Yeah, we had a good discussion on this at the last meeting, I believe. So is there any updates or anything that needs, nothing's different, correct?
As far as I'm aware, there were no changes.
Yeah, I did ask that as part of our to-do list this year, we would put stop lines on the street. Remember that as part of the public works team could do,
yes.
Or part of the striping bid.
Yep.
I forget which roads it was, it was for where the new stop signs would be. So just, let's make sure that's captured somewhere, Chris. Okay, is the board member willing to make a motion to approve ordinance number 2, 2026?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Nate. Any questions or comments from the board or the public?
I think we can, the stop bars, I think we might be able to do those in-house. I think I was going to check with Mark about that. But we can't Can't do that until later on in the year when it's a little warmer.
Understood. Okay, then we'll take a vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Is there any opposition? Hearing none, the motion passes 5-0. Agenda item number 10, discussion and possible approval of resolution number 5, 2026, accepting the dedication of McIlvain Lane. Kristen.
Sure, this was part of your subdivision that was done at 504 South Concord Road. The project is completely completed. The subdivision plan contemplated that the road that was built, which is called McIlvain Lane, would ultimately be dedicated to the township. We have a deed of dedication that's been tendered to the township. The legal description has been reviewed by the township engineer. The form of the deed was something that I provided to the applicant's counsel, and the process is for you to adopt the resolution agreeing to accept the road. We then would record the deed of dedication in the recorder of deeds. We also have to file it with the clerk of court so that it becomes part of your liquid fuels inventory. One other thing that we do before we present this to you is and part of the motion should also be to authorize the chairman to enter the maintenance security agreement. So under the state law, the municipality's planning code, the township, upon acceptance of dedication of public improvements, is allowed to ask the developer to post a maintenance bond for a period of 18 months to guarantee the structural integrity of the dedicated improvement. And that the amount of the maintenance bond is 15% of the cost to construct that improvement. So the maintenance security agreement spells that out. We have a maintenance bond that's been tendered to us. I'm handing the original to Chris. The maintenance bond is the amount of $25,770.83. Again, that's specific just to the road that's being dedicated. So you'll have a tickler system, and I'm not sure who's responsible for that, but you tickler basically like 16 months, assuming the board accepts dedication. Somebody goes out and inspects the road again to make sure there's not major structural deficiencies. If there are, you notify the developer. They have to go and fix those structural deficiencies, or they forfeit that bond. So that's the process that we're in right now.
So the question is this an actual money deposit to the township in that amount, or is it just a promissory?
It's a bond.
It's a bond.
It's a bond, but the bond says that the bond basically says you need to do what the maintenance security agreement says, which is fix the defects that we bring to your attention within 18 months, or that money's forfeited over to the township.
So it's not like an actual money is received by the township that has to be maintained in a separate account or anything?
Right, that's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are those the outstanding fees that we're talking about here?
No, those are separate. So under the municipality's planning code, the township subdivision ordinance, and the developer's agreement, the developer is subject to paying professional fees incurred by the municipality associated with their development.
And what do they owe us?
So right now they owe us around $3,500, and I did check with Jennifer, who handles billing out those. We did just do a billing for the most recent round of invoices, and we haven't received payment. I did communicate with the developer that those need to be paid off. So I would recommend, and Kristen, please feel free to disagree with me, I would recommend that any acceptance be conditioned on payment of those fees.
I mean, I think I'm not sure that's totally jive with the law, to be honest. I mean, I think that the development agreement and the subdivision ordinance would contemplate that once the road is ready, you will accept it. You have other legal mechanisms to collect that debt, but I know that townships do that, so I'm not going to say that that hasn't been done before.
I should know the answer to this, Chris, but I'm not sure I do. Is the sewer system been dedicated?
I don't know the answer to that question.
I don't think it has. I don't remember this being outfitted at all in the last 12, 18 months.
I don't believe it has. I can check with Mike, but I do not believe it has.
Okay.
And I will note that there was when we were looking at this internally, there was some concern because it is a short length of road that it wouldn't meet the liquid fuels requirements. However, Mark, because the liquid fuels set a minimum length for the roadway, Mark did go out and field verified, and it does meet the
It's just a cul-de-sac, right? It's a small cul-de-sac.
Yeah, it's roughly I believe it's like 275 feet in length. So it does meet the requirements.
Good.
The minimum for liquid fuels is 250.
Good. Okay, so board, do you have any questions, or is someone willing to make a motion to approve resolution?
So what would be, I guess, the harm in asking for them to pay the fees as a condition? I mean, would they just say no?
I mean, they're bound to pay the fees under their developer's agreement, so there really is not much harm because we have mechanisms to collect under the developer's agreement. It's not that he's not going to pay, it's just sometimes it takes a little.
Yeah, and what I'm concerned about is so you take it, you make a motion that says we'll accept it upon payment, and then he doesn't pay it. I mean, at some point we need to know the status of the road as being a public road or not a public road, and who's snow plowing it. So as long as we're clear in the communication that the acceptance is not final until that payment is made, we won't, I just want to be clear in the communication.
So what do you recommend?
I recommend that you accept it without that condition and that you use the mechanisms that you have to collect the debt, but that's...
And there's been no indication that this is not cooperative.
Well, in the beginning of the project, Chris had difficulty getting him to pay. Recently, he seems to be very responsive and doing what he needs to be doing.
I would say that's an accurate
I had multiple emails from him, and his counsel. So the dedication process, he's been really on top of it, following up, making sure we have a hand delivering things to me. So
when I did communicate with him about the outstanding balance, he was very quick to respond.
Great.
And you mentioned acceptance or approving the resolution subject to this maintenance bond, but we received it.
No, signing the maintenance security agreement. So there's an agreement, there's a legal agreement that I would like the chairman to sign that spells out what is the purpose of the maintenance bond.
I believe I did include a copy.
He's already signed that.
He's signed it.
Okay.
Well, then I'll make the motion to accept the dedication of my claim.
I'll second that motion.
Subject to me signing the maintenance security agreement. Okay, so I have a motion and a second. Is there any public comment or questions? Doug?
I have two questions. First one, is this the old Boy Scout camp?
That's correct.
Okay. And also, can you accept dedication with a contingency with a time frame?
For
what are you talking about?
Like, we'll accept dedication upon the debt being paid within a given time frame.
Well, I think the board decided that we were not going to tie it to the fee being paid, that there are other avenues to collect on the fees. There's agreement already been signed by the developer to pay those fees, which we can enforce through law if we needed to. So we don't feel the need to tie it to this as well and complicate matters.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. We're ready to take a vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Is there any opposition? Hearing none, the motion passes 5-0. Next is agenda item number 11. Discussion and possible approval of a revised proposal from Carroll Engineering for professional services associated with the flood mitigation project on Montgomery Avenue. Chris.
Mr. Chairman, before the board this evening is consideration of a professional services proposal from Carroll Engineering for work associated with the flood mitigation project on Montgomery Avenue. As the board is aware, the township has been successful in securing over $800,000 in grant funding from both the Department of Transportation and the Department of Community and Economic Development for this project. At the April 1st, 2025 meeting, the board approved the proposal for these services in the amount of $115,950. But on the advice of PennDOT, the township delayed beginning work on this project until awarding of the multimodal transportation fund through PennDOT was announced. Due to the budget impasse that occurred, awarding of this program was not announced until December 23rd, 2025, where the township was successful. So since there was a pretty extended time period, I asked Chris Peterson to refresh his previous proposal. The proposal is for a not-to-exceed fee of $166,500. I did do a comparison between the two proposals, and I'll note the following. This proposal has been revised to reflect 2026 billing rates. There are 2 secondary visits that have been concluded for site reconnaissance for such items as soft digs. These are for utility locations. The most significant adjustment I noted is under construction inspection. The proposal from 2025 outlined 5 weeks of full-time inspection totaling 200 hours. The new proposal outlines an anticipated 90-day contract with approximately 60 to 65 working days depending on the construction timeline. So the schedule outlines 450 hours of inspection. And speaking with Mr. Peterson, based on past experience, we thought it would be better to build in a higher number of inspection hours to reduce the likelihood of needing to adjust in the future. Obviously, if we don't hit that number of inspection hours, we will not be billed for anything above what the actual inspection costs are. So we built it, it's essentially building in a contingency in case it goes longer than planned.
Is that 450 hours full-time inspection for the 90-day construction period?
Yes.
So if we don't need it every day, then obviously it would be less than those hours.
That's correct. And all of these projects, when there are separate proposals, they all get their own individual project number and are tracked individually on the bills that come every month.
Do we know if on the Balmar Street project, which is very similar to this, whether we had full-time inspection required?
I believe we did.
Okay.
How about for the North Hills project, where we did have a cost overrun there for engineering? Did they were there every day?
They were there full time, and that was the basis for increasing this. We didn't want to run into a similar situation.
So North Hills, remember, was quite a long, lengthy process from when we first started it and had the pricing and put in for the grant, and then we did the project, and we never asked Carol to come back and give us a new price with the actual construction oversight. It was like 18 months after they'd originally proposed it, right?
We are learning from past mistakes.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, so I asked Chris to update his proposal. Once we got the announcement on December 23rd about the grant from PennDOT, I asked Chris to update the proposal, and when we were talking about it, we learned from what occurred with North Hill and didn't want to repeat that.
Well, I don't think we've actually celebrated the fact that we were the recipient of a second grant for this. Did you announce it at the last meeting? I forget, at the old meeting?
I did not, Mr.
Okay,
Chairman.
so we're in great shape for this project. I think it was a $1.1 million cost estimate, including these costs.
No, I believe that 1.1 was just the construction.
Just the construction, and then these costs were on top of that. And
That's
then
correct.
we got close to whatever it is, $800 and some odd thousand dollars.
Roughly $827,000.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, so we are looking to accept this revised proposal from Cal Engineering Corporation, so I'll make that motion to do that for a expected not to exceed fee of $166,500, including the design, bidding phase, and construction oversight of 90 days full-time inspection.
I'll second.
Thank you. Is there any public comment or questions? Okay, well, Steve?
I think it's great. Looks like it's not going to cost the township that much.
Yeah.
I would ask you if you could ask PennDOT to throw some asphalt on Montgomery Avenue before we start the project. It's really bad.
Yes.
To do what, sorry?
Throw some asphalt down.
Okay.
Agree.
I'll ask.
And Green Hill Road while you're at it.
Good luck with that.
Potholes haven't even started yet. That's really bad.
Yeah.
I can have Mark reach out to them. He has a good contact.
Okay, anyone else?
They can really get it done.
Yes, they can.
Anyone else with a question? Okay, then we'll take a vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Is there any opposition? Hearing none, the motion passes 5-0. Next is agenda item number 12, discussion and possible issuance of final awards to BSS Contractors LLC and Lenai Electric Corporation for the Family Bathroom Expansion Project in West Goshen Community Park. Chris, I think you have an update to this.
Yes, there have been some changes in what's before the board this evening. In reviewing further the information that was submitted by BSS Contractors LLC and their subs, there was how would I accurately describe this?
I just think there's discrepancy in the certification for compliance with the RCO on that certification form versus then the sort of supporting documentation that was provided. So upon closer revealing, they were relying upon a Delaware statute that gave them an exemption. We explained to them that the Delaware statute has no bearing on the township's RCO. We actually communicated with the apparent low bidder, and he was extremely cordial and understood. So we wrote a letter to him that his bid was considered to be non-responsive. So given that, we had recommended that Carroll Engineering reach out to all the bidders to make sure that they were comfortable extending their bids. Just the way the bid was worded was that they were prohibited from withdrawing their bid within 60 days. It was silent as to whether there was an ability to award it past the 60 days, and just to be certain, we asked Carroll to write letters, which they did. And the Lenny Electric one, that was vetted out to be the apparent low bidder, met the RCO requirements, but we did not, in talking with Chris and Chris today, we didn't think it was appropriate to award the electrical contract, which obviously needs to be timing with the general contract. So we just felt it was more appropriate to hold that one off as well until we resolve. What they're doing is investigating the second apparent low bidder to make sure they meet, which is what your code calls out to do, to make sure that they can meet all the RCO requirements. And if they do that, and all the due diligence comes back, then that'll come back to you hopefully at the next meeting.
So what I would recommend as a motion for the board would be to issue a notice of intent to award to Donald E. Reisinger, Inc. in the amount of $229,085. They are the second lowest bidder.
For the general contract.
For the general contract.
And if they come back and say they can't honor that because it's beyond their, whatever it is, 60 days, then that means we don't have to, we can review the situation. We don't, it's not,
Right.
okay.
That's right.
Not committed to them at
That's
that
right.
point.
That's right.
Okay.
So.
And then if we do, or alternatively, no, I think that's a good strategy actually. I'd like to do that. Okay, so I will make a motion to issue a notice of intent to award to Donald E. Reisinger, Inc. in the amount of $229,085. And we've already done it for Len and I. Do I need to reiterate that?
No.
Okay.
Len, I re-reviewed their information today, and Len was perfect.
Okay. Is there a second? Thank you, John. Any public comment or questions? Doug?
Has Len I done work for the sewer authority?
Well, they do work for the township all the time.
And they have a good history?
We've never been aware of any issues with them.
I think they do the EV structure and...
No, that was Hobbs.
Hobbs, okay. I was going to say that. I didn't do sewer. That's BSI. Any other questions? Okay, we'll take a vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Is there any opposition? Hearing none, the motion passes 5-0. Agenda item number 13, discussion and possible appointment of Mr. Matthew Migliori to the West Goshen Township Sewer Authority. So we have had several vacancies on different boards and commissions, and there was an opening on the West Goshen Township Sewer Authority. We had one interested person submit an open application to be on any board that we had a need for, and Chris steered him to the West Goshen Township Sewer Authority opening. Mr. Migliori came before the Sewer Authority at the January meeting. We had a great discussion with him, and he's interested in serving the community. His resume was provided to the board here in the materials for this meeting, and the Sewer Authority voted unanimously to recommend that he be appointed to the Sewer Authority. So I will make a motion to appoint Mr. Matthew Migliori to the West Goshen Township Sewer Authority. Is there a second? Second. Thank you, Nate. Any public comments or questions or board comments? Okay, then we'll take a vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Is there any opposition? Hearing none, the motion passes 5-0. Agenda item number 14 is discussion regarding amendments to the West Goshen Township policy for the replacement of mailboxes damaged during winter storm events. Find where we are with this. Chris, would you mind just introducing this? I know it's come, the board's had some resident complaints, etc., and you've been on top of that with Mark, so would you like just to summarize where we are with this current issue?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. So before the board this evening is discussion regarding the township's policy related to replacement of mailboxes damaged during storm events. There was a recent event in December where a resident on Derby Drive experienced a damaged mailbox. The township's current policy is to provide a standard replacement mailbox and a post if a mailbox is damaged during a snow plowing event. And based on the research I've done, this has been the policy of the township since at least 2011-2012. The results of the damage that occurred has prompted an evaluation of the township's current policy. We did review replacements from 2019 to present, but I will note that we didn't have much information for 2023 or 2024. We also researched municipalities in Chester County and how they handle these situations. We looked at 25 municipalities throughout the area, and I provided the information on their separate policies to the board for review and consideration. I'll just note a couple of key takeaways. A good number of municipalities surveyed offer a flat fee for replacement, with the highest being $100. Generally, this reimbursement or replacement is only done when something like this is damaged by a plow or truck physically striking the mailbox, not the result of snow or ice coming off the plow. There are also reviews conducted to determine the cause of the damage, as most do not replace the mailboxes if it's the result of snow or ice hitting it. And there's also some municipalities have a general claim form that is submitted requesting reimbursement. I provided 4 items for the board's consideration in terms of looking at a new policy. These were reviewed by myself, our Director of Public Works, Mark Bertolami, our Assistant Director of Public Works, Mike Cacaveau, and one of our lead foremen, Paul McAvoy. So this is all based on their review of all the information.
Okay. Should we cover those or discuss those? What, do you want to read them out, or should we just discuss it as a board?
I'm happy to, if the board would like, I'm happy to go over some of the recommendations.
Would you want Chris to do that, or you just want to get into a discussion? Okay. So, what's on a policy update to how we handle mailbox damage?
Well, I think that if we are responsible for knocking somebody's mailbox over, that it should be our responsibility to replace it. I don't know that just replacing it with a mailbox that we choose with our post is sufficient. I think sometimes if people have mailboxes, they want to put their own mailbox on. This resident asked for us to also install the mailbox, is that right?
That's my recollection.
Which we typically do not do.
And in this research that I did, most places don't have their staff or anybody install it for anybody.
Which I kind of agree with, but I do think that we might want to offer a flat rate for replacement above $100, because I think that just the installation alone would cost between, I don't know, I was just looking on my phone, anywhere between like $150 maybe to $200. So that's just to put it in the ground. So how many of these do we have a year?
Not that many.
It was
It's on the last
relatively,
page.
based on the research, it was relatively minimal.
So like 2.
I think it depends on the store, it depends on how much
It
snow you're gonna have.
It
You're gonna have that much
depends
snow.
on it depends on the event.
Yeah.
I will say, just to kind of add to the discussion, in speaking with Mark, he did say a flat fee would make his life the easiest.
Yeah, I did notice there's 4 townships that don't have a flat fee, and I'm kind of leaning towards that because I know in my development, if you replace a box, it's got to be replaced with the existing box, so that we're all the same, so that in the neighborhood, it all looks the same. We are mandated in our bylaws to do that. We don't have a choice, and it's about $250 to $300 for a mailbox. Yeah, well, I can't just go. Yeah, I just can't go out and buy a box at Home Depot. It's got to be through this company, and it's got to be. And I'm sure a lot of neighborhoods are like that because they want to be uniform.
I feel like, I know other townships are doing this, and I feel like $250 to $300 would cover it. If it really is our responsibility, that's like a drop in the bucket.
But that doesn't include install.
Well, I don't know how expensive your mailbox is.
$250.
I feel like the average mailbox might be $100 to $150.
Like at a Home Depot or whatever.
And then installation would be another $150 to $200. Like I would be comfortable saying like $300 to $350
For everything.
reimbursement. Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't install it. You have to figure out installation.
But give them the money, because it's private property, and I'm not sure that we want to get involved going on somebody's private property to do work.
No, and we don't. If something happens and it's not installed correctly, I
Right,
want it to
they're gonna
be-
come back. Yeah, I
That's
agree.
those are my.
So are you also saying that just pushing snow that then pushes over a post is the township's responsible to do to fix it? Or is it just if we strike it with the plow? Because my post is old. If we get 16 inches of snow on Sunday, I live at the bottom of the cul-de-sac, my post may well be pushed over, and I know
I'm
it.
not if it gets pushed over by snow. It's not even your mailbox.
Now, if you change the policy.
Well,
Are we putting a law that
I'm
says mailboxes
this
on-
may, or Mark's recommendation may handle that, because he's saying that the streets do have an asphalt or concrete curb, that the face of the mailbox also be 4 to 6 inches behind the edge of the street, or we don't pay for anything.
Well,
So,
is
that like a code? Is that like a?
That's
Still see the
there's-
base.
So there's guidance for mailbox placement.
Yeah,
that's
I like that.
That's available on, I believe it's actually available on our website as part of like a document, the public works page.
I like that, and if they don't do it, then they don't get reimbursed at all.
It's too,
Because those are already out.
I mean, you're gonna go out there, say it's 1 inch out, so we're not reimbursing you, tough. It just, I don't wanna be out there measuring, saying you're in or out of compliance with how your mailbox should be.
There's plenty of streets that don't have curbs.
I know, so they would have to meet those standards and reinstall their mailbox.
I don't think it's that much money.
And there aren't that many, there's two a
Really, if
year.
you look at the number of
Two a
approaches,
year.
since 2019, we had 27. I mean, our guys are driving these trucks do a damn
Yeah,
good job.
they do.
And, all right, so shit happens, I'm sorry, it does happen on occasion. And anytime it happens, is when people are doing something, and they're doing a hell of a good job. It's a rare instance when it happens, but when it does happen, people get really incensed, and I can understand. I can appreciate it.
It's not intentional.
No, exactly.
So
If it
is
happens,
it
it's going to
a,
make them right.
is it a reimburse up to 300? Just putting words out there. Is it a reimbursement of actual costs up to 300, or is it, no, your mailbox was knocked over, here's $300, go do whatever you want?
I think if you're expending taxpayer money, there should be something that comes with it, like a receipt or something that can be traced back to it, up to a certain amount that's set
Well,
by.
these other policies don't have that though, right?
Some of them do.
Some of them do, some don't.
And we would require a
I
picture
guess we'd
or
go
a video.
300, we should.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think
Picture
that
or video.
If your mailbox is knocked over, you now have up to $300 to install and replace it. If you go beyond that, that's on you, but provide your receipts to us
Okay.
and we'll reimburse you for them.
Just a person, okay.
And I think, kind of to what Ms. Smith was saying, I mean, I know some HOAs have those requirements, however, we have to look, I think the board has to look at the township as a whole and can't really take that into account, so I think you have to figure out a flat amount, and that's the amount that you get up to with the submission of a receipt. We can't take every single situation into consideration.
So we have a cap.
Well, I like your point on too, a claim has to be submitted, you know, we're gonna investigate it, show us pictures, I would add
Well, yeah.
video footage.
So why are we investigating it for reimbursing, whether it's knocked over by snow or ice? Or
Yeah, if the policy determination of the board is that any time any of this happens, regardless of if it's snow and ice hitting it or if it's being struck by the plow, then there doesn't need to be an investigation conducted. If there was only going to be a situation where it's only going to be if we actually physically strike it with the truck or the plow, then there would need to be an investigation.
How does anyone ever know that, though? How do you know that for certain?
There's
The
usually-
time when it's hit.
I was gonna say, did they know when they hit it and say like, oh, I just hit this mailbox? and
Well,
tell you?
in speaking with Mark, there would be some kind of evidence, like if there's grass, that would probably be ripped up. There might be scrape marks on the concrete and things of that nature. So there would be some kind of evidence that would show that it's done. I would say probably, in speaking with my colleagues, most of the time mailboxes are damaged, and kind of in talking to Mark, it's when snow or ice kind of comes off of it and knocks it over.
And there's not enough every year, but I think it's a huge issue, so I think we should just do the 300.
And that would, again, talking to Mark, a flat fee would make his life a lot easier.
He just wanted to go down and propose, dealing with it, he just said, hey, we hit it, you just submit a reimbursement up to $300. Okay, hey, good point.
Yeah, the only point I have is, while the mailbox is down, they don't have a way to get their mail. So do we want to give them a temporary mailbox that's, because we're talking about the winter, you can't just go and dig and expect to be able to get into the ground if it's frozen.
That would stay then.
In speaking with Mark, he said that would be extremely helpful.
Yeah, he wants to keep that.
We already have them.
If we have temporary ones in stock.
We already have them ready to go.
Yeah, we have them ready to go. If we provide them with a temporary mailbox so that they can at least get through the winter, Mark did say to me in my discussions with him that that would also be helpful.
So it doesn't have change, so I'll just continue that way.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, with the exception of $100.
Well, what I'm hearing from the board is we wouldn't really do an inspection because there would then be real need to determine fault. So I can create a form that people can fill out. They'll submit that with a receipt. There are plenty of examples I can pull from other municipalities. They'll submit that with a receipt, then we'll process the payment accordingly.
Yeah.
Okay. We're generous compared to other townships based on a $300 proposal. Okay, so before I ask for a motion, is there any public input on this? Is kind of a policy thing, kicking it around, Steve? You have some
Keep
thoughts?
it simple. I said keep it simple. You know, I think West Goshen Township's got a we'll reimburse a flat fee of $100 or whatever we decide. If damage is caused by the plow truck, wreck hit, not by snow thrown.
Well, we've said snow is, if it gets damaged by snow when coming off the plow, that's eligible. You say you don't agree with that?
I don't agree with that.
Okay. Other thoughts? Anyone else wants to weigh in?
So does the board want me to actually like formulate a formal like policy that can get signed, that can get like approved and signed off on before the next meeting, or are you comfortable with me just writing this up and putting it on the website?
I'm comfortable with you writing it up personally.
What the policy along with the form.
Yeah.
I mean, I hope that we're able to see if it does get abused in some way. I don't know what form that abuse would look like, but if over time we're now seeing 20 claims a year, we'll know that people are getting new mailboxes.
I mean, they should disturb that, they go out and expect a mailbox to it.
Yeah, I'm hoping Sunday's a good day
For the neighborhood.
Marks, people are pretty good about letting us know when their mailbox gets knocked over.
I'm sure they are. All right, so is everyone else in agreement that we just, Chris has got our approval to proceed with as discussed up to a reimbursement amount of $300, Chris?
Yeah, so it's up to $300, so if they actually spend less, then they would get actual.
Yeah,
Okay.
actual.
I can write something on.
Okay, thank you.
You should vote to approve it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so
I'll make the motion.
we're making a motion to approve a change in policy for mailbox replacement to issue a reimbursement amount up to $300 in the event that the mailbox or post is damaged by either the plow or truck hitting it or snow or ice physically knocking it over.
So they would have to complete form and submit receipt.
Complete form and submit receipt, and we will continue the practice of providing a temporary mailbox. Is there a second?
I'll say it.
Thank you. Any comments or questions from anyone? Okay, let's take a vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Is there any opposition? Hearing none, the motion passes 5-0. Reports for the month of December. Kristen, you want to stay or are you ready? I don't think there's anything else for you tonight, so if you want to leave now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you, Chris.
Good evening. So I have two reports for you tonight, one for the month of December 2025 and one for the entire year. I'll do December 1st if that's okay.
Sure.
So the report for December 2025, we responded to 1,967 calls for service. 48 of those were alarms and 3 were determined to be valid. We went to 108 accidents, 24 of which were reportable accidents, and we drove a total of 13,240 miles. In the alarm arena, 8 of those alarms were of the highest value of fine, either a 6th or 7th violation of the year, where 32 were a non-fine, just a warning situation. We performed extra traffic details on Taylor's Mill Road, South New Street, Spruce Avenue, 322 Bypass Lincoln Avenue and Taylor Pike, Aram Avenue, Airport Road, and North Five Points Road. And along with our normal monthly trainings, Officer Hero went to a drug identification training. Lieutenant Brandizio completed his Northwestern School Police Staff and Command training, and Sergeant Spigarelli went to an FBI LEADA training. We performed 31 assists to other departments for a total of about 14 and a half hours, and we received 20 assists from other departments. I also want to let you know that on February 2nd, we will be having a coffee with the club at Merrill Gardens. And later this year, on April 15th, we will be assisting with a mock crash at the East High School. So a mock DUI crash so all the students can see what's going on and hopefully deter them from being involved in one. So if you have any questions on December, I'll certainly answer them, or if you'd like, I'll move on to the year.
Any questions for Chief?
April 15th?
April 15th, yes.
Is that what it's called?
The mock crash, so it's on school property. I don't have an answer for that. I don't know that they were just open to the public because all the students would be out there on property, I'm not sure. So for the year of 2025, we responded to 25,416 calls for service. 508 of those were alarms, 40 were found to be valid. We responded to 1,002 calls for accidents, 231 of those were reportable accidents, and we drove a total of 208,882 miles. And among the information I just gave you, Our calls for service the prior year were 24,836. We went up, it's about 2% increase. Our alarms decreased about 15%. And a bigger decrease was in the multiple violations. We had more first and second violations than in the year prior, as opposed to having the higher violations.
Can you offer an opinion that whether or not our fee structure has been effective in changing people's behavior insofar as these false alarms?
It appears to have had an effect, yes.
Do you think we're on the right track?
I do. So like what I was saying before, the billed alarms, so from third violation on, that number went down by 25% in the year. So that's the report from the police department. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Chief, I know we've talked in the past about, is there any discernible trend in the assists from and to? So you've got another year's worth of data now. Is there anything that looks kind of steady as she goes, or what?
Probably a 50% of that is departments that aren't adjacent to us. You know, New Orleans will call and ask us to check on our residents for some reason or another. So that's a high percentage of what we ask others and the questions we receive. And then a decent percentage is our neighbors calling and need help because they're either too busy or the situation needs extra officers.
In particular, I'm curious about that. You don't see any trend one way or another with respect to
In the
help to
second?
neighbor.
No, I'm not saying so, no.
Thank you. Any other questions? Does anyone here have a question for the chief? Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Also, we have reports from Good Fellowship Ambulance for December. I think did they provide the annual data too? I forget.
Some, Mr. Chairman, some did and some did.
Okay. Westchester Fire Department and Goshen Fire.
I think, now that I'm thinking about it, GFAC may have also provided a summary, like in an email or something, but I don't think they provided a detail.
Okay. All right, we're on to Steve. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Just a comment. I heard from a couple of firefighters from the other side of town, the cover of Cambridge Hall, and whatever you've done there has significantly decreased the number of calls. So,
Shall we be done anything with that?
I do know, and this is solely based off of what I've heard in the office, John and Andrew were working that when they came through and renovated an apartment, that they were moving smoke detectors away from the kitchen, I believe. But I'm not 100% sure, but I can ask.
Yeah, because I believe most of the instances were like burned food.
Yeah.
But I
So
think
was
that
the
they
issue.
were able to move them further away, or they're a heat detector now. I'm not 100% positive, but I know as they were renovating apartments, they were coming through and renovating that specific issue as well.
your actions are very positive.
Thank you. I will let the department know.
Good.
I think Andrew, before she left, she was negotiating with those folks over there, quite a bit going back, and I think they came up with some changes in their fire alarm system, including that, and also I think the sensitivity of the fire alarm unit itself was adjusted.
And I'm glad to hear that it's working.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
Okay. So we're on to agenda item number 16, which is Board of Supervisors announcements. Ashley, would you like to start?
I have no announcements at this time.
Thank you. John?
Sure. Friday, December 19th, myself along with the other board members met with the township manager and then with the chief of police to review and discuss the board's annual performance evaluations. Then on Tuesday, January 6th, I attended a lecture poll webinar on responding to acute behavioral emergencies. And it's estimated that anywhere from 1% to 10% of police calls are for mental health or substance abuse calls. In a nationwide survey, 84% of law enforcement executives reported an increase in such calls as much as 21%. And as much as 21% of fatal police shootings occur in these kind of calls. So the seminar itself included a review of best practices for collaboration between law enforcement, EMS, and mental health providers is very important. And I think at some point I'd like to make that presentation to the fire and the EMS coalition. Then on Wednesday, January 14th, I participated in the West Goshen Township Traffic Committee. We had discussions on the traffic at Falcon and West Town Road and a possible need for stop signs at that intersection.
So that's a problem area that comes up perennially.
Yes.
So what is the actual way forward in trying to understand what would be an improvement for that intersection?
4 stop signs.
It's a state road, so it's got, which makes things.
But whenever that comes, it's not clear to me whether we can petition the state to take ownership of getting the data that's needed to make a change, or we have to just ask them to do it and ask them to do it until they do it. And we can't
Well, we
take,
submitted
they
that.
can't delegate us to do it.
We submitted
That's
that.
a PennDOT question now.
I think because it intersects one state highway, because it's Falcon Road and West Town Road, we need to contact PennDOT. Now, ultimately, it meets the warrants for four-way stop, which I believe was one of the issues discussed in the past, but I could be mistaken. Then the stop signs can be installed, and we would then be responsible for maintaining them if they're installed. But I think we'd have to speak with PennDOT. It's similar, we had a request 3 years ago for deer crossing signs, and we had to go through PennDOT to get approval to install deer crossing
Well, at
signs.
the traffic meeting, they said they're going to submit the data, the crash data, and all that. That was going to be done,
So
I think this week.
to
And then they were
PennDOT.
going to PennDOT, and they were going to approach PennDOT with the recommendation of 4 stop signs.
Right. Now, you collected data there on reportable accidents at that
I
intersection.
personally did, but yes, we
Yes.
did.
But I'm saying the department does, so you should have that. And I think it's within a 12-month period, if it's more than 5 reportable accidents, then it requires some PennDOT review. So if we had that kind of information,
We certainly have that information. I don't know that there's 5 reportable accidents there.
Did it
But
fall
we have that
off?
information that's easily accessible.
so would the township manager approach PennDOT with this information, make it a request?
I've written letters to PennDOT in the past, like for example, when we did the deer crossing signs, I wrote the letters to PennDOT requesting the evaluation for the placement.
Can we do that now?
If I have the data from the police department, we can do that.
Okay.
We can ask you to consider it.
Totally to do with. Then also, another part of the discussion we had at the traffic committee meeting was, I made a follow-up request for a traffic study to be done along South High Street in the vicinity of the proposed Wawa. This would provide us a baseline of actual traffic volume and speed before the Wawa was built. And this is particularly important for us because we are requiring the developer to do a 6-month post-development study on traffic, and then we would have a baseline to compare on how much more the traffic has increased. So it's important that we have that. So whenever you guys can get around to doing that, that would be.
So we do have a study from April, May of 24 or 25. We just looked at it.
Is it 25, really?
24.
I just started to aggressive if you had anything. You seemed to indicate that you didn't. He was going to pass the request on to.
So I know we have information from April, May, but 24 or 25, I think we go on.
But the applicant also done traffic studies, if I remember right, conditional use here, and they presented data with in and out of school. And
I thought I thought one of the questions was they had done their studies like during the pandemic, and it wasn't really fully realistic.
Right, well,
probably.
we get an update on the status of that traffic study, when it was done, and we need to do another, then we can schedule it. You know, be done while the Westchester University is in session and not during the holiday weekend, something like that.
Okay.
That concludes my report. Oh, the next meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, May the 12th at 9 a.m.
That's Traffic Safety Committee.
Yes.
Tuesday, sorry, John.
Tuesday, May the 12th at 9 a.m.
Thank you. Nate?
Yeah, December 19th, along with Sean, I attended the Municipal/Woodland Annual Board Meeting. January 6th, attended the Westchester University West Goshen Township Leadership Task Force meeting. We discussed various topics, including intersection improvements along New Street and Rosedale Avenue. These meetings will be held the first Tuesday of every other month, so the next one will be in March. January 20th today, I attended the America 250 meeting, and just wanted to say that we have received a $2,500 grant from the America 250 Let Freedom Ring grant, which will equally split with East Goshen for upcoming America 250 events. That's it.
Are we sold out for Thursday's event here?
Last I heard, we have 70 people coming.
70. So, Chris, are we opening up the whole area or for that, or?
Yep, yeah, it's on the calendar for the whole room.
Yeah, that's not including any high schools or middle school students that may be showing up to get extra credit.
Okay.
No, the America 250 event is on Thursday.
Right, on Thursday.
Saturday.
I think it's the next Wednesday.
No, it's Thursday.
So this Thursday.
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock.
Tina.
Okay, a couple things. On December 20th, I attended the Santa breakfast. There was about 175 people there. It was very well attended. I think Ken did a great job, and Tom and all the volunteers, they should be applauded for that. On December 24th, with the police, West Goshen Police, we delivered gifts and gift cards to the Domestic Violence Center. My Pin Oaks gym again collected money for the gift cards, and this year we collected $475 in gift cards to be able to give to the people there. So that was great that they were able to do that. And it averages about $500 to $800 a year. Usually for the past 4 years, that's what I've been getting. They came in handy, the gift cards come in handy. On January 14th, I'm glad to report that we had a meeting with Tool, which was the subcommittee that we had established to talk about all the parks and the plans moving forward. And there is a draft report out there. It's about 120 pages. I did ask Tool that they summarize it, basically just putting in a real brief summary for the board to review, and also of the actual stuff that they recommended for each of the parks to be done. So very brief. It's a lot to go through. It takes a long time, and I don't think we need to see all that information. A lot of it was just background and stuff like that. So that's going to be available. I'm sure it's going to be an upcoming board meeting. When are we going to have that one? Is that February?
Well, we asked that all the information, all the comments from the committee be provided by January 30th, and then we'll get the final report mid-February, and then schedule a meeting from there.
Right. And it was well attended, the last meeting, the committee meeting.
Does anyone else need to review that report, like
It has to,
county planning?
it has to go through an Act 247 review with the Chester County Planning Commission. It has to go through our planning commission. It has to go through the Park and Recreation Board.
So it'd probably be April before it gets to us.
Correct. And then there's a 45-day public comment period, so probably June you're looking at adoption.
Okay, is there specific items in there that we have budgeted expenses to implement in the summer of this year, or?
Not specifically, but we did allocate, I think it was like $300,000 for improvements.
The report also prioritizes what's going to be done in year 1 to 2, 3 to 4, 5 to 6 recommendations. So that was kind of laid out pretty nice.
So in terms of not missing an opportunity to implement something this year that we end up approving in the parks plan that isn't approved until June, is there anything we need to be thinking of in terms of procurement or whatever else?
We brought that up during the meeting.
We did the low hanging fruit, so to speak, is what
I know
they
we
termed
budgeted
it.
for these replacement, I mean, there's no reason to, tell me if I'm wrong, there's no reason to wait, because we've budgeted for it, to approve this plan if we know we're going to replace equipment in these couple of parks we identified.
Right.
Yeah, okay. That's really what I was trying to say.
Yeah, I got it. And the last thing I had is we have our fire EMS coalition meeting tomorrow night, and I'm real excited to propose to them some changes. I put a lot of time into this, about a month, in looking at various different methods out there and moving forward. I want to put the coalition in a different direction now. It's been 4 years. We've done a really, really good job at achieving all the goals. But I think I want to move in a different direction now, bigger picture. So I've outlined a lot of different strategies to use, including a strategic plan that's needed. And I'll discuss it with the coalition tomorrow. But Also, we have a different audience now. We've invited the other townships to come and share in the coalition, so I think we're looking at a little bit different direction that's going to impact them, or we can work on projects all together. It impacts all of us basically the same. So also, which is real exciting, is it's a new direction for the COG, because they're going to be working with us on a lot of the initiatives that we're putting forth. So that'll give the COG more input. I think it'll give more community support, more input, and financially also, and some of the ideas I'm going to put forth tomorrow night. We did discuss it with the COG. They're excited about it. They want to participate in this new direction we're going into. And I'll get the feedback from the COG tomorrow night. I also contacted about 5 or 6 people on, not the COG, Coalition, asking their input on what direction they want to move forward. So I put all that together, present it to the coalition tomorrow night, and then we'll bring it back to the board as to what the final decision is.
Very good. Good luck with that.
That's it. Thank you.
I just have a couple of announcements. John mentioned one about the board. It was an executive session that we held on December the 19th to provide the 2025 performance reviews to both Chris and Mike, the Chief of Police. The board also met in an executive session on January the 16th with the legal counsel for the conservatorship associated with 905 West Town Road. Those are my announcements. Does anybody have any questions for the board? Okay, then we'll move on to agenda item number 17, Township Manager's announcements.
Mr. Chairman, I'll keep these brief. The township offices will be closed on Monday, February 16th in recognition of President's Day. There will be no change to trash and recycling collection. The township's monthly e-newsletter will be issued on January 23rd, 2026. We've begun our field work. Barbecue Thornton and Company began the field work on the township's 2025 financial report and audit. That started on January 12th, and they're coming back for additional work in early March, and we'll keep the board apprised of the audit process and scheduled presentation of the audit at a future meeting. At the reorg meeting on January 5th, the board did approve a proposal from Charles A. Higgins and Sons for repairs to the traffic signal at Boot Road and Route 202. During that discussion, I did describe the issues that occurred. I'll note that our property insurance agent did review the township's insurance policy, and asked Selective Insurance to reconsider their denial. So we're waiting for the results on that. So they did send someone out on January 12th to look at the situation. So if the denial is reversed, the township would only be required to pay a deductible of $2,500 for the repair. I will note that there was an error in the proposal that was previously presented, as it didn't include adaptive equipment. So I am going to follow up with Selective, but there might be a subsequent proposal that's brought before the board for reconsideration. In terms of our CD purchases, we're continuing our CD purchase program, and I provided the information on the CDs that have been purchased and the lengths of time and the corresponding interest rates based on the work that our finance director has done. In terms of projects, for the solar energy array project, I'll note that we're completing the filing under the Inflation Reduction Act. I have provided everything with them to complete the filing, and based on an email that I received from them on January 15th, they're finalizing the submission, and I did request a copy of what is submitted for the township's records. I'll note that we did receive the funding for the PIGO Solar Incentive Program. Terrasol completed that filing on behalf of the township back in October, and the funds were received in November in the amount of $19,026.15. So that closes out that incentive program. As we just discussed, in terms of the Park Recreation and Open Space Plan, we are on a timeline in order to get that completed, and we're awaiting final comments from the steering committee by January 30th, and then a final version on sometime in mid-February. And then lastly, we do have a meeting with the Planning Commission on January 28th at 6 p.m. to have a joint meeting about the comprehensive rewrite to the township zoning ordinance, and those materials have been provided to both the Planning Commission and the board for review.
Chris, the only question I have is the Westchester University master plan.
Yes.
I know you guys reviewed it in-house with staff here with the engineer that we're using, I forget the name. Urban Engineers. Is it a point soon when a copy can be provided to the board and potentially put on the website in terms of our comments? I know it's ahead of the hearing or not.
So since the comments will be issued as an exhibit for the hearing or as entered as evidence, I wouldn't want to put those comments on the website. We are working to get the updated information on there. There were some errors with the PDFs and we haven't uploaded everything yet. But I wouldn't want to put the comments in there since they'll be entered in as evidence during the
board
hearing.
can see the feedback that have been provided from the engineer, correct?
You can see them the night of the hearing.
The period for the sending comments is until January the 30th, correct?
Correct.
Can residents also submit comments up to that period?
Well, the residents can submit any comments that they have at this juncture, or the most appropriate course of action would be to come to the hearing and submit their comments as a member of the, as a request party status and submit their comments during that process. That will get them on the record.
Okay, so you don't suggest then, or there's no mechanism in place right now for a resident to make comments to the university regarding its master plan?
They can certainly submit an email to me and I'll pass it along to the university.
My next question, how would they go about doing
Yeah,
that?
they can do that and submit it, and I can
Okay.
submit it to their legal counsel, but the appropriate mechanism is at the hearing.
Okay.
But any view yet as to when that hearing might be held?
TBD.
Okay. There's no more planned public presentations from the university with neighborhoods though, right?
Not that I'm aware of.
Thank you. Any questions for Chris?
I just, yeah, I have one. Township engineer Brian Kalikowski has resigned effective today, and Carroll Engineering should be filling in for his roles. We're going to be holding weekly office hours at the township starting on January 28th.
That's correct.
Do you know when, what those hours will be?
We were looking at 10 a.m. to 3 p.m.
Is it going to be every day of the week?
Just once a week on Wednesdays.
Wednesdays from 10 to 3?
Yep.
Okay.
But we have had transition meetings and with Carroll Engineering, and everything seems to be going smoothly.
I mean, our intention is to use Carroll Engineering for all the services, engineering services we need in the township, and we have a mechanism to track any costs that are additional to what would normally be incurred by them in the absence of an engineer.
I've asked them to set up a separate project code in order to be able to track those.
So this time, we're not proposing to advertise to fill an engineer's position.
No, not at this juncture.
So we'll see how it goes.
And I wish, I spoke with Brian today, I wish him nothing but the best.
Yeah, I had a chance to talk with him, so I spoke with him today.
Yeah, for the record, I just want to thank him for his service to the township and wish him well.
Very good. All right, we'll move on to agenda item 18, zoning officers announcements. Shelby.
Just a quick update. As previously discussed earlier this evening, 750 East Marshall Street, Unit 108 will be appearing before the zoning hearing board, scheduled to be this coming Monday evening at 7 p.m. here at the Township Building. There is a second application on that agenda for that night. It is the application for Crescent LLC, also known as Kirkland Woods, Keystone Custom Homes, for their property on Ashbridge, where they are looking to construct a wall and a fence. I'm gonna just say it. It's a wall and a fence. That application has been continued from October until this coming Monday. Residents that were originally notified back in October were re-notified, as so much time has passed between their original notification in October and the January 26th hearing. So that is about all I have tonight. If you have any questions?
I have a question. Shelby, was that wall and fence part of the original plan for those 7 houses along Ashbridge?
I can't speak to what was on their original land development plan. That was before my tenure. But it seems as though that they have made it very clear that they need this structure. I do know at zoning hearing board, at the first zoning hearing board in October, and then at the subsequent one in December, there were some residents along that area of the bypass that wanted a noise screen there, not just for that property, but I guess there's a relatively large section of the bypass that does not have a sound attenuation barrier. But that's about all I know. I don't know if it was on their original land development plan.
Anyone else with a question for Shelby? Thank you, Shelby. Actually, I had one question. The property maintenance issues, looks like there's a couple of visibility and side issues.
Yes.
This time of year, hopefully there isn't that many that you're aware of, these couple
No,
of the other
so
ones.
yeah, these specific ones that are in my report are either notified by residents to the police department of a site visibility issue, and or I actually, when I worked for Veronica, I couldn't see pulling out, but right now that's primarily, mostly all we're issuing is site visibility issues.
Okay, thank you. Next is agenda item number 19, approval of the Board of Supervisors meeting minutes for December the 2nd and December the 16th, 2025. I provided some typo corrections and clarifications to Chris. I believe John did also.
And so did Mr. Wallman.
So did Nate. Does anyone have any further comments or questions from the board?
I make a motion to approve the meeting minutes.
Thank you. Actually, I will second them with the corrections that have been provided. Is there any comment or questions from anyone? Okay, I'll take a vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Is there any opposition? Hearing none, the motion passes 5-0. I will make a motion to approve the Treasurer's Report dated December the 31st for the General Fund, the Sewer Revenue Fund, the Waste and Recycling Fund, and the Capital Reserve Fund, and the bills to be paid from these funds. Is there a second? Thank you, Tina. Is there any questions or comments from the board on the Treasurer's Report or the bills to be paid? Is there any public comments or questions? Okay, we'll take a vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Is there any opposition? Hearing none, the motion passes 5-0. A motion to adjourn the meeting at 8:34. Is there a second? Second. Thank you. All in favor say aye. Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Doug.
Yes. What is yes, and he went to our, when we had training last year. Yes, and then, I'm like, I know you from somewhere. Did you teach at West?